Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Irish Breakdown Podcast, brought to you by our new partners at FanDuel, part of the Believe Network. Happy Wednesday, everybody. We are now, I believe, 25 days away from Notre Dame kicking off their season against Miami down in Hard Rock Stadium. So time is really, really starting to fly. Today, what we have in store for you, we have the practice report. We got to see, I believe this is the fourth time media had access to go out to practice. So Brian, myself, Sean Davis, and Sean Stiers were at today's practice. So we're going to give you guys a practice report. Brian's going to join us here in a couple of minutes. He's going to hop in. He's going to break down quarterback play, wide receiver play. There was a lot of good things to see from today's practice today, Sean. But where we're going to begin today is we're going to start on the defensive side of the ball. I know you were hanging out down around that end of the field, Sean. A lot of good things that you saw. So walk us through some of the things that you took away from the defensive side of the ball today, man.
Well, we're going to start with, the focus was fundamentals, definitely for the defense today. So we start with the defensive backfield, and they started off one of the early periods working with the wide receivers and the quarterbacks and basically simulating crossing routes or either throws to the flats and completions. And then they were coming up and going one-on-one with the receiver, pretty much making sure they took the right angle. And that's what they were working on. But in that, you got to see that, wide receivers, and I'm sure you guys will talk about this a little bit more. The wide receivers showed a lot of quickness. I expect a lot of yak with this wide receiver core. And I think that's something that they target in recruiting or have been targeting in recruiting is yak and players that can be elusive with the ball in their hands. We saw that with a couple of great reps from some of the wide receivers, but the focus on the guys, they're so long. That's what I saw. They're so long that these defenders, these defensive backs, are really getting to the ball carrier really quickly. And they're not out of control. One of the things we talked about that Adon Schuler needs to improve upon is that he comes downhill fast, but sometimes he was a little bit reckless and out of control and missed some tackles in open space. And so that's exactly what they were working with. Coach Mickens and the rest of the coaching staff were working with those guys on that. As far as the wide receivers, like I said, if they were dropping those balls, because they were literally like 3 to 5 yards away from the quarterbacks, but it was really for the benefit of getting the ball in the wide receivers' hands, giving them a chance to show that they can make moves, and then allowing the defensive backs to go ahead and make sure they take the right angle to bring the ball carrier down. So that was something that we saw early on between the defensive backs and the wide receivers. Then we went to the defensive line. When I watched them, Al Washington was just harping on fundamentals. That's why I said it was the theme of the day. So, of course, they had the canopy that everybody knows offensive line works under it, defensive line works under it. And it was kind of like a dual drill where they would go through the one drill, which it was basically focused on making contact with the offensive lineman and making sure you extend your arms quickly to keep him off your body and then discarding him to get to the ball carrier. And then after they went through that, they would get back in line to go under the canopy and then to go through that same thing again. But the canopy forces you to keep your low leverage and get lower than the offensive lineman with the same technique. We saw this. Some of the youngsters are still struggling with that. Joseph Reese, Christopher Burgess, Dominic Hulock, they still have to learn that because you have to bring that strength from your hips, explode, extend your arms, and then discard the offensive lineman and get to the ball carrier. So that was the focus in two different ways today, focusing on extending your arms, getting to the ball carrier, but then focusing on also keeping that low leverage by coming up from under the canopy, which forces you to stay low and making the same contact and extending your arms in the same manner. And then you want to go to the linebackers. The linebackers, it was funny because they were mixed up with the defensive linemen for a period. And it was a very creative, for you guys, I've never done this drill, so I'm sure you saw it before. But for me, I was like, man, it really connects to, we saw so many times last year where Notre Dame blitzers, whether it's from the linebacking core or from the safeties, were just a tad bit off when it comes to making a play in the backfield or, getting to the quarterback or rushing the quarterback. And so they had this drill where they would come off the ball or come off the edge, and then there would be a medicine ball coming from the other side, simulating either the running back or someone else, tight end, coming across to catch them, and they would have to avoid the ball and then get to the quarterback. So that's something they were working on. They definitely were working on swim and rip moves. The defensive line, they were working on that extensively today. So extending your arms and then working on your counters coming off of that to be able to discard and get around the offensive lineman or the blocker to either defeat that and get to the ball carrier or to defeat the blocker and sack the quarterback. So fundamentals was definitely the theme of the day. And then another thing that I noticed, they went to, because you guys on the other end watching the offense when they went to red zone, and I was on the defensive end, and I was watching them. This is linebackers, the back seven, linebackers and defensive backs working on communication in the red zone, whether it was zone or man, passing guys off and making sure they're covering the guys that are going to the end zone. Is basically four guys in the route, and they were communicating how to cover within the red zone, end zone, and man to man. They did that multiple times. And I'll say this, Chris Ash was very much acting like a CEO of the defense. He spent time at every station in every drill with every position in every period. A period is about what, 10 minutes? Each period might be like seven
If
to eight.
that, it's probably like
Yeah,
I'm 7, 8.
7 to 8 minutes. And so he'll spend 2 minutes here, then he'll go to the defensive backs, then he'll go to the linebackers. He has his eyes on everything. And when it came to red zone, this is something I definitely want to get Brian's take on this, because it reminded me of things we hear when Lou Holtz was the coach, that he believed in Barry Alvarez so much that Barry Alvarez basically ran practice. Sometimes the defense was on a totally different field, and Barry Alvarez just ran the practice. And so watching Mike Denbrock, Marcus Freeman was all his attention was primarily with the defense today. He was overseeing the defense, overseeing the drills, overseeing Chris Ash and everything when they went to red zone. And Mike Denbrock basically ran the offensive side of the field and the offensive side of practice for the time that we were there. So it just gave me a connection and made me really think about that. The trust of a defensive minded head coach to be able to have an offensive coordinator with as much experience as Mike Denbrock, that he can trust him to take care of that as I come and I focus on Chris Ash and my defense and making sure that this transition is going the way we need it to go. So those are the things that I took away from practice today, other than the fact that this team is extremely long, extremely big. Oh, Logan Thomas definitely jumped out to me today. He is noticeably bigger than he was last year. We knew he was fast, he was quick. Man, he was definitely jumped out on special teams. But this year, he's much thicker, especially in his legs and his thighs, which speaks to his ability to be able to get off and be more explosive as a pass rusher. So I'm looking forward to that. I think Armel Mookum stood out. Davion Dixon stood out for me. And as I said before, I was just looking at the youngsters because I just wanted to be able to give, the fans a little bit, some tidbits on them going through the drills. And like I said, fundamentals, technique, that's something they're going to have to continue to work on. But everybody, Joseph Reef, Christopher Burgess, Gordy Solstad, it doesn't matter. All of those young guys, they looked the part. They looked the part. So I wouldn't be shocked if one of those guys mid-season gets some reps, gets 5 to 7 plays per game, because they're definitely physically able to go in and play. I think they're more physically imposing as far as size and strength. They're more ready to play than Logan Thomas was last year, just from a strength standpoint. And so when you look at that, I think, Al Washington was smiling today. He was working them hard. Coach Al was working them hard. He was wiping the sweat off, but he was talking the entire time to everybody that was going through the drills and hammering fundamentals. And like you said, Chris Ash has been hammering that since he got here. Like, the defense is great, but I have them focused on being the most fundamental team as well.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, it's I can echo the same sentiment down on the offensive side of the ball. I know we're waiting for Brian to come in, and he's going to talk about, what the past game work was looking like today, how the quarterbacks and wide receivers were looking. Spent a good amount of time watching the offensive line today. And one thing that I pointed out, and from what I heard from Brian, this is pretty consistent with how he's been so far throughout camp. Joe Rudolph was very intense today. And I don't mean from a grab you by the face mask and you're a terrible player, not like that, but very intentional in the way that he was coaching. So a lot of their work today that they were doing was inside hand placement. A lot of times last year, Sean, you brought this up in a couple post-game shows. I heard Vince mention it. I talked about it. Really, all of us did. Brian brought it up several times, especially through all the film breakdowns that are on the message boards. But offensive linemen last year had the tendency to kind of grab outside. You remember how many holding penalties would kind of force some plays to get called back? And it's like, that's just not necessary there. Hand placement and working on hand placement has been a very intentional drill that Joe Rudolph has been working on today and throughout Indy period. So just to give you guys a window in, how they separate it is, they go through their stretches. They have, period one, which is kind of like a special team circuit type of deal. And then they go into individual period, which is essentially periods 2 through 4. And the offensive line continued working on almost the same thing the entire time we were at that practice. And Joe Rudolph was, hey, no, I don't like that. Restart the drill. You need to get your hands up inside because you need to be looking at this and you need to be paying attention to him coming down. And it's very intentional. One common theme that I'm starting to see from the offensive coaches, not named Gino Gaduli, because that one's kind of a given, is there's a lot of intentionality about understanding what the entire defense is doing this year, not just what your man is doing. You hear what Coach Jaywan Sider was talking about in his press conferences about how he's really trying to get his running backs to understand more so than just, hey, read the gap and then use your athletic ability to break off a long run. He's like, look, my running backs are lining up alongside the quarterback. We need them to see what they also see. And hearing some of the coaching from Joe Rudolph today, that's also starting to fall in suit of, hey, it's not just, seal off your guy, work up to the next level. Start to read who's coming down. Read who comes down to fill if, a linebacker is out of position, then that becomes your man. So it's a lot of multi-tiered stuff for them, which I really appreciated, but wasn't sacrificing anything fundamentally. Really, really heavy emphasis on keeping your hands inside, very intense coaching. We saw a little bit of rotation today at the right guard position. Sullivan Absher wasn't participating in the drills that we got to see. He was off to the side, so we got to see Christopher Tarrick step in at right guard. He was doing some work in there. We saw Will Black step in at right guard. He got some work in there as well. The first-team offensive line stayed consistent with what we had believed it to be really since the start of fall camp coming out of spring. But, Sean, I want to get your opinion on something because I didn't see the Saturday practice that they had. I was back in Indianapolis, and then obviously none of us got to see the stadium practice that was a couple days ago. But comparing where they were at on Friday, the last time that you and I were both at, did you go to Saturday's practice last? Okay, so you and I have both seen, basically we went from last Friday's practice to today.
Yeah.
Did players and coaches alike, did they look more settled in today? Like just a little bit more comfortable going through what they were doing? Because that was one of the big overarching takeaways I took from today's practice. It was, we saw the first day, full first practice, and obviously all the true freshmen's eyes were like wide open, and, some of the other players were shaking a little bit of rust off. Today, I got the feel that everything was settled in. It was more business-like today. Still same fast pace, but what do you think?
I think you hit the nail on the head, and I think it could be a couple of reasons, right? I think one of the things I asked you, and I was just confirming because I think this was their last practice in shells. I think the next practice is going to be like the first time they had pads on. And so I think maybe they got to the point where they have settled in. They come off the peak of practicing in the stadium, which I'm sure was like an intensification of practice. All the guys were hyped up to be in the stadium. Probably the first time that the freshmen were in the stadium practicing. And then you come back and it's like, okay, now the next peak is, of course, getting into full pads and the intensity goes up. So, yeah, it did seem like there was a settling in or a leveling off, more of a business-like approach to today, but it didn't stop the pace, the fast pace of their practices. It's a team to me that has settled in, using your word, to what the culture is day in and day out, which I think is a great sign. I think that's a great sign because when you have a team day in and day out that goes about their business the right way, one of the things we noticed, even in a early drill, we were standing there and we were like, "Yep, the ball's not touching the ground." That's one thing you've been worried about. We haven't seen a wide receiver drop a ball yet. And so seeing that, as small of as an improvement that could be, it is a sign that this team, this program, and this culture has taken a step up as far as handling the business no matter what, which we hope could lead to them not falling prey to those early losses to teams they are just easily better than. They've gotten over that, because if they've gotten over that in camp, just taking care of business week to week, day to day, then those are the things that build to you being able to get over that hump and not seeing that happen again. And that can lead to getting to that next level for the program and the team. So, I agree with you, man. I think they are very business-like. I think they're a very confident team. I think they're a very confident staff. I mean, they are. Some people might not like that. I don't like them being confident. Look, I would much rather be the guy that knows he's the dude and still goes about his business than having to use the underdog tag to kind of motivate me all the time. At some point, you have to lose that tag. And I think they're going about their way of doing that. They want to be recognized as one of the top programs and top teams annually in the country. And I think they're working their tails off to get to that.
Agreed completely. Welcome in, Mr. Driscoll. How you doing today?
Yeah. I just, I had to jump in because I think Sean was making a great point. I think the approach that we're seeing from this football team today, and really it's been consistent in all the practices that we've seen, is it is very much a business-like approach, but I mean that in a good way. I mean, like, look, we got work to do today because we got something we're working towards. It's not a lot of false enthusiasm. It's also not the business approach that we see like we talked about when we used it as a pejorative during the previous coach's tenure, where it was just kind of like it was too business-like. It was just kind of methodical. There was no urgency. Sean, I think you talked about it. There's good pace. I love the comment you made. Like, they're not sacrificing pace, but it's there's work to be done, and that's what we're seeing from this football team in practice.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely, Brian. We were just wrapping up some of our takeaways from the defensive side of the ball. I referenced some of the things we saw on the offensive line. The intensity of the coaching was also sounded like it was consistent down on Sean's end.
You guys got to see that from Rudolph, because this is the first time you guys have been down there by him. Yeah. So now you get to see what I was talking about those last couple practices, where he's barking a lot down there, and he's just never happy. And when I say that about a football coach, that's a good thing. That's a compliment. It just means, like, look, there's no – Sean, you talked about it with the linebackers, with Max Bulla, where it's like one little small – if I ask you to step here and you step here, I'm on you, because I asked you to step here for a reason. It's not just because I told you so or I felt like it. I didn't throw something against a dartboard saying, like, I'll have him step 3 inches today. There's a reason why I want you to step here. I remember Mike Elko telling me one time – I was talking to him. It was about I think it was against Stanford. They gave up a big play, and this has been 2017. And he was explaining to me, he goes, because the safety did not recognize that the receiver was only 5 yards off the tackle instead of 8 off the tackle. Because if he'd have seen that the guy was 5 yards off the tackle, he would have known the only 3 routes they run are this, this, and this, and he would have played the post. Something like that. And you're like, that's what we're talking about, where, like, those little things matter. Like, that's why you focus on those things. And we're seeing that attention to detail with Joe Rudolph, where, dude, I asked you to do it this way. You were close, but not close enough. And he's not like, hey, man, nice try. I still love you. It's like, come on, do it right. That's what you want this week, this early in camp. Because as I said in the practice the other day, fellas, when you allow those bad habits to grow now, they become a part of who you are when the season starts. So when I say that about Joe Rudolph, that's what I want to see. That's how Harry Heastand was. It was never good enough unless you did it exactly how he wanted it done. And that's how you work towards perfection. Because if you're always working towards perfection, people say, well, you can never be perfect. That means you're always working towards something. That means you can always get better. And that's what we're seeing from Joe Rudolph. We're seeing it from Al Washington. We're seeing it from Max Bullen practices. We're seeing it from Mike Brown. Mike Denbrock was barking a lot today. Just like, and when I mean bark, I just mean like pointing out, like, no, it's got to be exactly like this. It's a team that's paying a lot of attention to detail. And that's what I say that when I'm like, Joe Rudolph's never happy. That's what I'm referring to. Now, he's not just making stuff up to be mad about. It's just, look, if it's not perfect, then you're gonna know about it. And I just think that's one way that a coaching staff can also make sure that players are staying locked in and focused and hungry. It's like, I can't be thinking about what I did in the game against Georgia last year because coach is on my tail, man, about what I did in practice today. So I can't be feeling good about all the wonderful things I'm doing because of that. So I'm digging the tempo. I'm digging the tempo and the work they're getting. A lot of teaching getting done as well. In the four. I mean, if you think we only saw 20 minutes of practice, there's a lot of instruction out there today. A lot of instruction. Have you guys noticed? Maybe I'm just misreading this. Sean, you've been at practice in the past. Does it seem like more coaches are involved in special teams than the last couple of years? Like, I saw Mike Denbrock out there today working with one of the special teams units. Like, I wonder if they're like saying, hey, look, we're going to give Coach Biaggi a little bit more help along with him and then his special teams. I've kind of noticed that. I mean, they've always had guys working with returners and stuff. It just seems to me maybe it's not new, and I just noticed it more this year. But it does seem to be like, Al Washington today, they were working on the special teams unit. So we got the D line down there with Al Washington, Joe Rudolph's down there with the O line, and then Gino Gaduli's down there with quarterbacks. Other than that, like, all the coaches were involved in special teams.
Yeah.
Mike Mickens, Mike Denbrock, Max Bullock, they were
Mike
all
Brown,
involved.
everybody.
Mike Brown,
Colin, they were all there. So I just think what you just pointed out, collaborative effort, right? And I think that's been permeating throughout the program in the off season, from recruiting to like what they're doing together as the coaches when they meet, and then when they coach on the field and leading to special teams. I think it's a collaborative effort. You saw Mike Brown back there with the returners. You saw definitely Mike Mickens talking to his gunners and talking to the guys in his defensive backfield, and the rest of the coaches talking to, the guys on the special teams unit that were practicing pursuit and angles and special teams today. So I definitely would agree with that. But I think that just goes to the change of business life, right? Handle the business. This is where we have to go to. And in order to handle business, everybody has to be part of it and be connected to make sure we're not wasting any time or any moments to coach. Going back to what you're saying, it's a lot of coaching going on.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to maximize their opportunities to coach up the players that they have, like not waste any periods to just chalk it up to, well, it's a special team circuit. I'll just wait for my guys to come over to me for wide receiver drills. I mean, to start the special team circuit today, at first I thought they were just going to line up and start doing one-on-ones between wide receivers and DBs. Sean, you and I were talking about that. And then we saw they were working on a pursuit drill. They were working on an angle pursuit drill with specifically it was more for the DBs, but they were letting quarterbacks throw off little dump off passes to them, and they were letting the receivers get upfield and try to make a play. But Mike Brown had the opportunity to coach his guys up because they're still, even though it's a special team circuit, they were still finding ways to get the amount of coaching in that they need to in a practice that's not going to last 2.5 hours. So that was something that I appreciated. I don't have another practice to compare it to, but that was one of the takeaways, Brian. That's a heck of a point about the amount of coaching they're looking for any way. Because there's a lot of stuff that on special teams you do that translates over into what you do on offensive defense, especially back end guys. And so that was something that I appreciated that we saw. But Brian, you got to hang out with the quarterbacks and hang around them today, see the wide receiver play. We were down in the end zone where they're running some red zone stuff in the offense. And I know you have an awesome intel piece on it right now on the board, sports@irishbreakdown.com. Some of the things that you took away from today's practice.
Well, today, so what we've done is we've tried to allow each of us to look at different parts of the team at different days. So like there's days I'll be down there looking at the offensive line and then evaluating other secondary. These guys will be looking at certain parts, looking at other parts secondary. And today was my first day where I was really like up close to the quarterbacks. And the nice thing about the field that we were on today, and they're going to start practicing more on this field moving forward because the first game of the year is on grass. They did this last year when their opening game is on the road on grass. They will practice on this field more to get work on grass. And So today was obviously a day they did that. And because it is a different surface and you do want to get some work on it if you can. But the way that they do it, we are closer to the quarterbacks and receivers than we normally are, because this field, it's just one field. So everybody's on the field. So it's more like pregame where you get players closer to the sidelines. Well, the sideline we were on, the quarterbacks are right there with us. Gino Gaduli still has that throwing motion from Cincinnati. He loves getting in there, and I think he intentionally has it to where he only has an odd number of quarterbacks on his roster. I think that he intentionally does that so he has to jump in to the drills, because if he gets an even number of quarterbacks, he can't throw. But in all seriousness, just watching CJ and Kenny throw today, getting loose. Obviously, I mean, we're only in practice 5, but I'm not seeing any dead arm, and we're starting to get a period of time where you might see a little bit of that. Got the chance to really see this is the most up close I've seen Blake Hebert, and I'm watching him throw, and he'll throw a couple that are ropes and really nice and look great, and then he'll throw a couple that are real wobbly and kind of high and noses up. So I start watching him, and you can see he's still got to work on his step. So even just in throwing, warming up with another quarterback, sometimes like when the quarterback's here and you want to step slightly off center. That allows your hips to get open and allows you to drive through the ball. If you step too far, so like this is my foot. If I open too far, now my hips come flying open. My arm comes really late. It drags down. If I step too close, so if I'm here, my footstep is here and it's too close to the center, then I'm now fighting my arm and the ball will tend to sail. You could see a lot from Blake today where he doesn't open enough, so his hips stay tight and the ball just doesn't come out the same. But you guys saw during the red zone period, when he steps properly, that thing comes out real nice. That's what we talked about when he signed, is there's a lot of technical stuff that Blake needs work with. You know what I love, though? That's something he was looking for from Notre Dame. That's partly why the Notre Dame depth chart attracted him from a source that I talked to, that like he knows he needs work. He doesn't care about wanting to get in and play as a freshman. He wanted to go somewhere he was going to get coached up, get taught, and would have some time. So he didn't have a problem with CJ Carr being a year ahead of him, because he's like, well, I'm going to red shirt and it's going to create some distance. But when he does it technically right, that ball comes out as well as it does for anybody else except maybe CJ Carr. It's real pretty. The thing that he has to learn is with Kenny and CJ is they repeat that type of throw over and over and over and over. And Blake is yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And that's something he's going to have to obviously work on as he gets into this. And it's a small thing. It's really that lead foot can really like impact a lot when you're talking about a quarterback. So those are things that I'm sure Coach Gaduli's working with him on. I thought Tyler Buckner had a good day today, guys. I thought his ball placement was really good today. His timing was really good today. It's interesting watching him now with the quarterbacks on the roster, because when he was on the roster in 2022, I thought Tyler had the best arm of any of the quarterbacks with him, Pine, and Angeli. Sean, we would see them. Now today, he noticeably gets less gas on the football than the other guys. Now, part of that is just him not playing football, quarterback last year, but I don't think he's throwing a whole lot different than he did when he was a starter here. It's just the 3 guys that are also at quarterback just throw with a lot of juice on the ball. Between the 2 guys battling for the starting job, I thought Kenny was solid today. I thought Kenny had a good day so we saw them going through drills, warm-up drills. They were then throwing some one-on-ones to receiver, routes on air, one-man routes, two-man routes, and they started going 4 quarterbacks at a time on the RVA. Then we got to see them work on some red zone, not goal line, but call it the green zone, 5 to 10 yards and working on different route combinations. We're not going to get into specifics, but some quick stuff, some stuff that's breaking out towards the corner and the sideline, things like that. I thought Kenny was sharp for the most part early on. He had a couple misses late. He missed a back corner throw that just sailed way over Fields' head. And when Malachi Fields doesn't even attempt to go up and catch a ball, you missed really high. And then he missed on another one going the opposite direction. Outside of that, I thought Kenny was good. I thought at times he was a little bit late. Trev, you mentioned this to me a couple times. Like, I want to see that ball get out just a little bit quicker on that throw. Like, guys are kind of waiting on it near the sideline. Just get it out there a little bit quicker. I thought Tyler and CJ both were better with timing today. than Kenny was. But, you know, like, just again, it's not, don't read into that, because this drill is not about necessarily evaluating to a big degree. What comes after we left, that's the stuff that's going to determine it. But this is just the observation today. And I thought the sharpest guy was CJ. I mean, I only saw the ball guys hit the ground twice during that goal line red zone RVA period. I can't watch it all. I might have missed one or two, but the two throws from Kenny were the only through ball time that I saw the ball hit the ground. Like, all the quarterbacks I thought today were sharp, you know, for the most part. It was like, okay, so, and when I talk about Kenny not getting the ball out of time, it's a nitpick where I'm looking for perfection. His ball placement was still really good. He was getting the ball out towards the sideline, getting it high when he needed to. Kind of, there was a couple times where if you didn't understand the route, like every time Kenny's throwing the ball up here on a back line, well, that's where the ball's got to go on a back line throw. You want that ball up here because you got defense that, I mean, Brady Quinn used to throw this ball every time they're in the red zone, you know, like, get that ball high, let guys go up and get it. I thought Kenny was pretty good there. Just had a couple misses and just a little bit late. I thought CJ's timing today was really good. I thought he's getting good zip on the ball. His ball placement was really awesome today. But overall, guys, Trev, you said this to me a couple times. Sean, I know you said this as well when we were there together. The pass game operation was really sharp today in the drills that we saw. Now, I don't know what it looked like when we left, but in the drills we saw, that was encouraging. Just talent at receiver, athleticism, ball placement really good, velocity really good. I thought both Kenny and CJ did a nice job of mixing up velocity. When they needed to zip it, they would zip it. When they needed to kind of get it over top and drop it, you know, over the basket, they did that. I thought overall the quarterbacks were sharp today. I thought CJ was sharper, but I thought both quarterbacks had a good different throwing sessions today during the drills. I thought it was interesting too. Like, Kenny's obviously during handoff drills is always out there with the first group. He's always and this is the same thing last two practices. He's handing off to Jadarian, and then CJ's always going second, handing off to Jeremiah. So I thought that was interesting that they partner it that way. I don't read too much into it. It's interesting. You want, like, is that a seniority thing, like, for all of them? I have no idea. But I thought that was interesting. But I got to say this too, and I don't get into specifics. They are doing a lot in practice so far with the running backs in the pass game. I've definitely noticed that. And I do think that CJ and Jeremiah Love have developed a nice little pass game rapport. We saw that in the scrimmage work we saw in the full practice in game one, where CJ hit Jeremiah on an outcut. We've seen that the last couple of practices as well.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Watching the pass game operation today is kind of what sparked the conversation right before you came into the show. Sean and I were talking about how just they look more settled in today as a team, but more specifically the pass game operation. The first practice that we saw, it was a little bit of, you know, kind of get the wide open eyes, first day of camp, like a lot of eyes are on you. And today, definitely more businesslike. And I don't think you're wrong, Brian. I think those two passes in the red zone were the first two times I saw a ball hit the ground that day.
I honestly don't remember another. And I'm not, what do we mean by that? Sometimes quarterbacks can be on drops, somebody runs the wrong route, quarterback throws it where it's supposed to go, and the receiver doesn't break. Like, we saw that in the first day where CJ Carr throws that little outcut to Kevin Bauman, but Kevin Bauman stops and doesn't keep working, and the ball goes incomplete. And then they jump on Kevin. Hey, you got to keep working. Like, none of that today. Like, sharp. Everybody knew what to do. And they were running some really complex combinations where you could even see just a quarterback thinking, I thought I was, because they're doing 4 at a time, I thought I was supposed to throw here, but I threw. I mean, you'll see that sometimes. We've seen it in practice, Sean, where, like, two guys throw the ball at the same time to the same guy. We saw Jadarian Price catch it. Trev, there was one time a couple years ago where they did that, where they were doing running back and receiver drills, and one guy throws to the back, another guy, like 4 receivers, 4 quarterbacks. Do you remember that a couple years ago, Sean, when they threw 2 balls to Jadarian Price and he caught both of them? Like, he had one, and then he goes up and snatches it out of the air and grabs the other one. But yeah, I thought that just overall the operation, the quarterback's getting the ball where it's supposed to get to, getting it there accurately, receivers catching the ball. You know, like, the only completions were just a couple high misses, and if you're ever going to miss in the red zone, that's where you want to miss. You know, like the 2 places where Kenny missed today, neither of them are getting picked. Like, you don't want to miss behind in the red zone. You know, and I think the only guy that I saw throw behind today was that one throw from, I think it was Blake Hebert, had a ball that was a little bit behind on a corner type route. That's the only one that I saw that was that. Yeah, I don't know if that's where I would want that ball in the goal line. But other than that, I thought the quarterbacks were sharp. I was happy to see Tyler Buckner throwing the ball well today also. It was good to see him back. I like that kid. Yep. You can just tell he's out there. Like, I just want to be part of the team. I just want to work. I'm do whatever. We have a interesting whole question about him that we'll get to as well. But yeah, I thought it was a sharp day from the quarterbacks and the receivers. And I almost don't even want to say this because it's still too early and it's practice. But guys, it's a noticeable difference in just size and athleticism from this receiving core. I'll say this. This freshman receiver class is going to be better than a lot of people think it is. Like, did you guys talk about the receivers before I jumped in the show? Did you guys? Okay. Elijah Burris did today what we've seen him do in every practice. We don't need to spend a lot of time on that. He's good. He's a sharp route runner, catches the ball, and he just carries himself with confidence. You just see it. I think Scrap Richardson might be the most twitchy receiver on the roster. I'm serious. And maybe it's just, and I tried to explain this in the article. I don't know if it's just his get off is so good that he just looks really fast, and maybe his explosiveness or his acceleration maybe isn't as good as others. But when I watch him run, he just seems to be moving at a different speed than everyone else. And he's really smooth with this suddenness. Like, he'll make a quick cut, and you're like, why did there was one play, I think it was, did you guys see this one? It was during the little screen drill. And he's catching the ball, and he just makes a move on a corner or a DB, and the guy just kind of misses badly. I'm like, that didn't even seem like that big of a move, but he's just so smooth with how sudden he is that the guy thought he's right at him. Next thing you know, Scrap's going right around him. He's still learning a lot, but he's way more advanced than where he was at the end of spring. But guys, he's catching the ball better. That was something that I had heard from some sources. Like, we want to see him catch the ball better. I think Scrap's caught the ball pretty well so far. He's looking more and more like a receiver. But did you guys see that today? He's twitchy, man. Like, he is athletic. I think that's going to end up being people are going to look back and be like, man, I can't believe I gave Mike Brown a hard time for taking that kid, because that kid is really athletic. Really athletic. And then the best surprise of the day, we talked about this in one-on-ones, Trev, and we're like, well, let's hold off and see what he does next time. But it's now 3 practices in a row that I've watched Jerome Bettis Jr. and be like, dude, he's more athletic than I thought he was going to be. Like, he's real smooth. I don't know that his speed has improved a ton, but like, after what we saw today of him going through drills and him going through RVA, again, routes on air, the beating Mark Zachary on a go route is starting to seem like less of a fluke and more of I think he's just better than we thought he was going to be. Like, he's really kind of taken that step up, which I was good to see, because he's a good-sized kid. I mean, he's got a body that's very similar to Micah Gilbert's as far like how Micah's was last year. This was my first time seeing Malachi Fields up close. This up close. I mean, there's a play where the one I wanted to kind of thank Kenny for throwing it over his head. First of all, Trev, I was disappointed that Trev didn't jump on the throw. Right, he kind of moved out of the way. Sean, he pulled that move. I wanted to see him, get in front of it. I was a little disappointed, but it's all good. But Malachi ran right by us, and it's like, okay, this cat is massive. He's built more like Chase Claypool than Miles Boykin when we got to see him up close and personal. Just physical build. He's real smooth, but he's what we thought he was. But who I think is just
I don't know what happened to the guys right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I don't know what happened.
Stop. There we go. Are you kicking me, remove me or something like that?
No, you did that to yourself.
I didn't remove myself.
Okay.
Yeah, that's weird. Anyway, I don't know what's going on StreamYard. But anyway, Micah Gilbert's had a really good camp so far, and he just looks real confident, real smooth. And Trev, you made an observation to me during the practice, like him and Jack Larson catch the ball, like they really attack the football.
Yep. And
the two guys that one thing that I evaluate as a former receivers coach is I listen to how a guy catches the ball. And if it's real hard, that means he's got heavy hands. His hands are too tight. Like, or he's kind of not absorbing the ball. It's like, it's just, they're there. You go out and get it, you bring it in. That's why I had guys would practice on a basketball, because if you have tight, like if you catch the ball like this with a basketball, you're jamming fingers. Like Sean, you see that all the time when we're playing hoops. Like guy that jams fingers because you had stiff fingers. You got to go out and absorb the basketball, the football. So I don't want to hear a lot of noise when you catch the football. The two quietest pass catchers they had today, and they were catching it right in front of us. That's why we could evaluate it today. Is without question Micah Gilbert and Jack Larson.
Yeah.
When the ball hits Jack Larson's hands, you almost don't hear it at all. Like it's kind of an impressive thing. And Micah Gilbert's very similar to that, which means they have soft hands. It also means they're going out and absorbing the ball. They're not just letting it hit their hand. Like if you take a basketball and you bounce it up against a brick wall, it's going to sound a whole lot different than you bounce it off against a brick wall that has a bed on, right? Like a mattress on top of it. It's going to sound different, right? Because you're absorbing it. And Micah especially, but Micah was attacking the ball real nicely today. Jack Larson does too. He's got real quiet hands, meaning like you almost like you got to like listen to hear the ball hit his hands, which is, you know, not a surprise because we've seen his film and we know how what catches the ball, but it's still good to see up close and personal.
Yeah. One of the things that I liked about Jack Larson, we were talking about it when they were running those routes kind of to our end of the end zone there. He also has really good late hands. What I mean by that is there are some receivers that if they're not natural catchers of the football, we've talked a lot about Jack Larson being somebody he's just a natural pass catcher. What does that mean? Yes, big picture, he can just kind of catch anything that's thrown his way. But on top of the soft hands and attacking the football, he doesn't run underneath passes just like this with his arms out. That's going to give the DB time to like, okay, swat the arm down. It's very late. I mean, ball sometimes would be maybe just above his helmet, reaches his hands out. He's able to attack the football, soft hands. Late hands is what you want to see, especially in a play like in the red zone, what they were running, you know, because you don't want to be running underneath the football like this. You give the DB time to come up and hit an arm down or bat the football away.
That's what Mike Biggins is teaching his DBs. When he shoots his hands, you shoot your hands. That's what DB coaches teach. Spot on.
So that was really, really promising to see. Any other takeaways, fellas? Sean, any other takeaways from camp today?
No, I think it was very interesting. Something me and Brian talked about during the special teams period. Just watching, I think it was Jabron Payne, Aeneas Williams, KK Smith, and then Dallas Golden were the guys that were back there fielding the punts. Jaden Greathouse would have been part of that, but he was out today. And they all are different styles, right? I can see the excitement and the burst and the special ability to make people miss and to find creases that Dallas Golden has. It was funny because, not funny, but ironic. Brian and I had this conversation yesterday about how we think he plays into special teams going forward in the season. And he had a little bobble on the first punt attempt. He caught it, but he bobbled a little bit and then he took off. So as he becomes more secure with securing the ball and becoming dependable, I think he's going to become definitely an impactful player on special teams. It's interesting having Aeneas Williams back there because Aeneas Williams is he's much quicker. You can tell he talked about it. He feels like he's stronger and quicker and faster than last year, and you can see it. But he just has a way of knowing how to be a runner of the football. Like there are some people that are just natural runners of the football. You know, you have some people that are just really strong and powerful. They can break tackles. Some other guys that are just really flashy and do nice jump cuts. He is just like a blend of just knowing how to run and knowing what to do, what's needed. When I get into a small space, I can get thin. When I need to be powerful, I can be powerful. I'm faster than you think, so I can get around the corner on you. It's a lot of different ways. So I'm interested in seeing whether or not they throw him back there. He talked about, punt return and getting the opportunity to do it and just wanting to get the ball in his hands and have an opportunity to do things. And KK Smith is just that quick guy in short spaces that you can definitely see catching a ball, making a couple of quick moves and taking it to the house. So some viable options at punt return that could yield some fruit for Notre Dame in that part of the game.
With KK at receiver, I still need to see him attack the ball more. Like there was one play where he kind of waited and then let the ball come right here on him. It's like dude, you got to go up and get that one. And that's the one knock. But I mean, he's looking really quick. He looks healthy. Like you mentioned on punt returns, he looks really good. But as a receiver, I just want to see him attack that ball a little bit more. Go up and get it. Be one to more attack the football. I mean, we saw that with the interception in day one where he's kind of fading away from the ball, and you got to go up and get it. But once he gets it in his hands, though, to Sean's point, he looks really impressive. Did you guys talk about what you saw at D-line today? Did you talk about like the freshmen? Like, did you talk about Burgess and Davion Dixon? Did you talk about okay, good. Because I was like, Davion Dixon looks really good. Like, he's impressive. Like, him and Sean Sevillano took a couple drills together. So, like, one guy's coming this way, one guy's going that way on, like, same drill, but they're going opposite directions. And him and Sevillano took snaps at the same time, and he was way more impressive athletically than Sevillano. Like, way more. He's put together. Yeah. Like, he's a really impressive kid. And this is my first time, Sean. Like, this is only my second time watching Christopher Burgess. The first day, he looked a little lost. Like, it was like I watched him on the first day, and he was like, hitting bags and hitting the, they got that chute they go under, and he's like hitting it and dragging it with them, and he looked a lot crisper today. Like, knew what he was doing. That happens with freshmen. It's kind of funny because you see freshmen do that all the time. He looked a lot more comfortable today than he did in day one. And you can see that burst more today than you did in earlier practice as well. He's an impressive looking kid. Really. And I know you guys probably talked about it, but he can't do a lot with his hands yet. But there is no questions that Jordan Botelho has been working on his quickness off the ball this offseason.
Yeah.
No question about that. Like, his burst off the line was really good today. Like, really impressive. And it's been that way all camp, Trev. We've seen it. But, like, today, he was really going at it. And just, man, his burst off, his explosiveness off the snap today in bag drills was like, whew. Boy, he looks good. So I just wanted to get those. I know you guys talked about it. I just want to get those couple notes in.
Yeah.
And talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right, fellas, that's going to do it for our recap of Notre Dame's fall practice report today. This is the fourth one that the media had access to. More to come. All the more reason to be on the premium message boards.irishbreakdown.com. Brian already has the intel piece up from practice today. There's some other little nuggets in there that we did not address on the show. So be sure to check that out. Champions Lounge, boards.irishbreakdown.com. Don't go anywhere, folks. It is Wednesday. It's buy, sell, hold day. You guys know what that is. So stick around. Be sure to hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell. Subscribe to the premium message boards, boards.irishbreakdown.com. But that's going to do it for the post-practice report. Coming up next, buy, sell, hold. All right, fellas. It is Wednesday. And you know what that means, Brian. It is buy, sell, hold day. Now, buy, sell, hold, Irish Breakdown podcast brought to you by our new partners at FanDuel, part of the Believe Network. What the buy, sell, hold is there's a thread that gets started on the message board. And you guys know how it is. You submit a scenario or a question. And after some thoughtful discussion, Brian and I will discuss whether we buy it, we sell it, or we hold it. We try not to hold too much, because, it's just, we want to pick one side or the other. But if we just don't know, we don't have all the information, or if we just don't know how to answer it properly, we'll hold it on occasion. If you are a premium message board member, you didn't get your buy, sell, hold in time, you can always throw in a super chat and we can get that answered right away. But this isn't like a normal mailbag. If you just throw buy, sell, hold in the live chat, we're not going to be able to get to it because of all the awesome questions that we have to get to today. So without further ado, Brian, you ready for some buy, sell, hold?
Dude, I absolutely am. We had some really good submissions today about team and college football and all types of good stuff. So I'm ready to get that going. So I'll go ahead and bring those up now, and we'll get started. Obviously, Salty Virginia Peanuts is who we are going to start with today. So let's get rocking with Salty's question.
A commitment from
or submission.
Elijah.
Excuse me, I called it a question. It's not a question. It's a submission. That's my bad. That's my bad.
Come on, Brian.
I know, man. I thought I was bringing my A game today, and then I just dropped the ball. I'll make up for it though. I'll make up.
Well, that's going to do it for us today on the Irish Breakdown podcast.
Yeah.
All right.
No, we're going to rally. We're going to rally. Let's get this thing. Let's go.
A commitment from Elijah Golden would not only complete a remarkable string of successes that will define Marcus Freeman's highest-rated recruiting class to date, but will also signify the final piece in a gap-closing puzzle that, if continued at this level, keep the Irish amongst the small group of universities that are perennially contenders for a national championship. Buy, sell, hold.
I'll buy this. I mean, look, obviously we'll find out on Saturday what Elijah Golden's going to do. My opinion on where things stand with him has not changed this entire time. It hasn't. So we'll see what the final answer is on Saturday. But if they get Elijah Golden, I certainly think that puts the finishing touches on what will be Marcus Freeman's best class so far. And I think that there are other classes where I would say, okay, this class had better this, and this class had better that. But when I look at this class, they're strong at quarterback, they're incredibly strong at running back, outstanding receiver class. You got arguably the best tight end class in the country. It really comes down to me, Notre Dame and Georgia with those two. You got one of the five best O-line classes. If you get Elijah Golden, you're going to have one of the 5 best D-line classes. You have a solid linebacking core with some upside, and then you've got arguably the best corner safety secondary class in the country. It'd be outstanding. And the thing about Elijah Golden that would add to it is you would have 4 guys on the D-line if he, commits to Notre Dame on Saturday. You'd have 4 incredibly high ceiling players, like really high ceiling. I think Tiki is a 5-star guy on my board. I'm actually going to look that up real quick, but if not, he's close to it. But Tiki Hole is another guy that I absolutely love in this class, and obviously Rodney Dunham is a guy with that kind of board, and Ebenezer Utade's got that kind of board, that kind of upside. So it's a really special class on the D line that has the ceiling. He's 4.5 stars, so that of a top 75 player. So Tiki's not 5-star, but he's close. But the other 3 would have 5 stars. And when a guy like Tiki Hola is sort of at the bottom of that group, that's an elite class. And we've talked a lot about, look, they've done well at quarterback recently. They've done well at running back. They've been up and down at receiver, but have some good years. Tight ends legit, linebackers legit, DBs legit. That they've had some good players on the D line, but have they been able to land like that one class that was just stacked top to bottom with big time players? Well, that's what Al Washington would be putting together if he lands Elijah Golden. It's exactly that kind of class, and it plays well together. Rodney and Ebenezer are pure edge players. You've got the pure interior player in Tiki, and then Elijah Golden, who's a bit of a hybrid, a bit of a Riley Mills type of guy. May start at end, depending on how much weight he puts on. Could it then, and I think he ends up at 3 technique, where he'd be a super disruptive 3 technique, that if you can coach him up and help him learn how to the finer points of the game, he could be a stud. So you've got 3 legit NFL talents coming, or 4 legit NFL talents coming in on that D-line class. And that's what answers that last question for Salty. That's how Notre Dame becomes that perennial team, is just stacking up those type of elite classes, but then also getting big time at the positions where they haven't consistently been big time would be really, really, really positive marks for this program. And obviously would silence a lot of people who remain critical of Al Washington, and would be a great step in the right direction. So yeah, I'll buy that. If he does that on Saturday, I mean, it's definitely, it's already a gap closing class no matter what he does, but it certainly answers any doubts about, can they really just finish off an elite D-line class? And that's what that would mean, in my opinion. Because Al Washington's been recruiting Elijah Golden for almost 2 years.
Man.
I mean, he's been all over that kid for 2 years, since he was at IMG. So that would be a big win if they can finish that one off.
BJam in 41, Notre Dame is appropriately ranked in the preseason coaches poll. Buy, sell, hold. I have trouble with this. Initially, I'm going to buy, because I don't have an issue with Notre Dame being number 5, just big picture without looking at it with any context. Notre Dame starting any season in the top 5, I'm a fan of. But it goes back to what we talked about earlier in this week's show about is Notre Dame being underrated and overlooked. They are still consistently being the 4th ranked semifinal team, the lowest ranked of the 4 semifinal teams from last year. And that's what I have an issue with. That's where I say it's not appropriate to have them ranked behind, multiple teams that they beat last year. I've seen some polls where they're ranked behind Georgia. They're always consistently ranked behind Penn State. They were again in the coaches poll. So the number being 5th ranked, yes, I think it's appropriate, but contextually, who's ahead of them, I don't agree with. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I will sell. I don't think they're appropriately ranked. It's one of those things where I'm not going to lose my mind that they're 5th, but I have them 2nd. And I don't think the rationale for having Notre Dame behind Texas and Penn State makes a lot of sense to me, because neither one of those teams are better than Notre Dame last year, and neither one of those teams lost less than Notre Dame. Like losing Riley Leonard and Xavier Watts were big losses for Notre Dame, no question. But what would you call Tyler Warren and Abdul Carter for Penn State?
Yeah.
And you're completely rebuilding your wide receiving core. Literally everyone that was there last year's gone, and it's all new. There's no justification, in my opinion, for giving those two teams the benefit of the doubt. It's what we talked about the other day. I have Notre Dame too. So when I say appropriately ranked, that makes me think they are in the spot or one here in another direction. I have them 3 off. It's not a travesty. It's not let's get rid of the poll because they have Notre Dame 5th instead of 2nd. Not that, but just my answer is no. I think Notre Dame should be higher. And I definitely don't think that Texas should be preseason number 1. So that's where I'm at on that one.
Then to follow up, buy, sell, hold, Notre Dame will be ranked lower in the AP poll, somewhere between 6 to 10.
I'm going to sell that. I think they'll be 5 again. It's possible. I don't see them being lower than 6 in the AP poll. I don't. It would shock me. And the media shocks me all the time. I get that, but that one would really shock me if they have them lower than that. So I'm gonna sell that one.
I'm gonna sell it too. I could see them coming in around 4th in the AP poll. They're either going to stay the same or go up 1 to 4th. I could see that happening as well.
Yeah, agree.
BJM 41, the college football world, opposing fans, media, athletic directors, coaches, etc., are not mentally ready for Notre Dame to win it all.
I buy this, Trev, and let me make my case. I think that a lot of people in the coaching world and some in the media world, especially former players that actually know ball, like a guy like David Pollock, and there's been some others, that they are becoming aware more so of the fact that Notre Dame is a really good football team and a really good program that is going to become a consistent contender for playoffs and deep runs in the playoffs. I still don't think those people are in the world where they think that Notre Dame actually has a chance to win it. Like, I would say the only national media guy that I'm aware of who talks in a way where I'm like, I think if you ask this guy if Notre Dame can win it all, he'd say they've got a shot. He probably wouldn't pick them, but it's Greg McElroy. Because he's the only one that recognizes they're not only great in the trenches, but they're also really good at the skill positions. He's one of the few national media people that, even going back to last year, I remember when somebody said that Greg McElroy said that Notre Dame has the best secondary in the country. I was like, no, he didn't. There's no way he said that. Like, he might have said they're really good. I went back and watched the show, and I was like, he flat out said it. He said that he goes, I think they have the best secondary in college football. It's like, okay, here we go. And like, he gets a bad rap for his Jaden Greathouse call in the Orange Bowl, which was a bad call. But, like, okay, fine. But, like, his overall opinion of Notre Dame is legit. And I think some people throw him in with I felt like Sean McDonough was throwing some shade at Notre Dame after that game. And he does that a lot. Greg McElroy's his partner. It doesn't mean in the booth, it doesn't mean that he holds the same opinion. There's been few people that have given Notre Dame more love the last 2 years than Greg McElroy. He might be the only one that's ready for it and won't like no way, I didn't see that coming. I think he's the only one that would not be surprised by it that I've seen. But I think the rest, even some of the guys that I think have been, like David Pollock's been pretty pro Notre Dame the last year. Especially like late, like, I don't know if he was a pro Notre Dame guy, like buying into the hype before the season, but he allowed the evidence of the season to change his opinion. Yeah. And I think when he watched Notre Dame go physically toe to toe with Georgia in that playoff game, I think that changed a little bit for him. I think his tune has been a little bit different since then. But that's and that should be, Trev. You can have your doubts, but when the evidence tells you otherwise, let it tell you otherwise. And that's why I have a lot of respect for David Pollack. I don't agree with everything he says, and I don't have to. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't agree with everything I say. But I need to know that you're intellectually honest and you're smart. And he's shown me that he'll do both of those things. And he talks about Notre Dame in a way where you can tell he's watched some film, not just giving you a surface level, I watched him play that one time type of analysis.
Yeah, I mean, that's called being a good analyst. I'm with you completely on that one. I mean, you always start out with some sort of, I guess you call it like a hypothesis. I think that because of this, Notre Dame may or may not do this. And then as the season starts to unfold, change your opinion. Don't nitpick and look for other things to fit the narrative of what your original statement was. I'm with you completely. Yeah. You're going to have to hear me out on this. And I agree with a lot of what you said. I'm actually going to sell this because I think they are mentally prepared for it. That's why I think Notre Dame is getting overlooked so much this season. I think that's why they're consistently being downplayed, because they know what Notre Dame is capable of doing. I think last season was more of a wake-up call to some people. Opposing fans, probably not. I don't think opposing fans will ever be ready for Notre Dame to win it all, just because they have their preconceived notions about what Notre Dame was.
No, you are correct on that. Yes.
No, my sell is excluding opposing fan. I mean, look, Notre Dame could win it all, and they could all tune in and watch.
And honestly, I wasn't even thinking about. I'm thinking more media and ADs and coaches. I'm not even worried about fans like that.
Yep, absolutely. But there's a part of me that thinks that some people are kind of prepared for it, which is why there's, the anti-recruiting tactics of now it's like you don't want to go there; they're too good.
I think some coaches know what's happening.
Yeah.
But not a ton. And let me push back. Let me counter your counter on the media. If the media thought Notre Dame was a legit title contender, like could win it all, they'd be hyping Notre Dame up big time, because they'd be looking to cash in on the clicks so they can then tear Notre Dame down when they don't make it. I think the only group of – that's why I mentioned like media people that know ball. They see what's coming. They know this isn't BK's Notre Dame or Charlie Weiss's Notre Dame or Ty, where you're always going to be a little short here, there, or the other way.
Yeah.
They see what's coming. To your point, I think it's a great observation, Trev. That's why you're seeing the negative recruiting ramp up towards Notre Dame, because they see if they're doing what they're doing now and they get Javian Osborne and Caden Finley and Ian Premer and Kari Adams and Joey O'Brien and Ebenezer Tade and Rodney Dunham and Elijah Golden, like they get all these cats on top of what they're already doing. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just think a lot of media are not ready for what's coming.
Agreed. I
do think they would be overhyping Notre Dame, which they've done in the past.
Kind of like what they did to Dion at Colorado. You hype it up to try to cash in on the hype, and then if there's a downfall.
Going into the Bama game, there were literally media people picking Notre Dame in that game. Now, I kind of thought Notre Dame was going to be competitive in that game, but like if Notre Dame's good and they really think that, they're going to they're going to overhype them, like they are, just because they want to get theirs.
Another one from B-Jam in 41. This Notre Dame team will be the best team Miami has played in the past 5 years.
I'll buy that. Yeah. I mean, the Florida State team they played 2 years ago is pretty good. I don't think it's as good as this Notre Dame team is going to be.
That was going to be the only team in contention. I went back and looked at their schedule. That's the only one that kind of holds any weight.
That 13-1 Florida State team.
Yeah.
Because I don't put anything into that beatdown they caught from Georgia.
No.
That wasn't even close to the same team that went 13-0.
No.
Not even close. Not even close. That's the only team to contend with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm with you.
That's it.
Biso, hold the first Notre Dame player that pops into your head when I say, okay, we'll go these one at a time.
One at a time. Biso, hold it.
Number 0. First player that pops into your head.
He has players, with associated with those, yeah.
Xavier Watts for 0.
Bye.
Number 3, Joe Montana.
Sell. When I think of number 3, I think of Michael Floyd. And when I think of quarterback number 3, I think of Ron Paulus and Rick Meyer. I never saw Joe Montana. When I think of Joe Montana, the first number that pops in my head with Joe Montana is 16. Because I never saw Joe Montana play in college at Notre Dame. So it's going to come down to your age. I mean, if you're someone who grew up watching that team, maybe you will think Joe Montana number 3. But mine is just, yeah, it's Michael Floyd. Honestly, I would get to Arnaz Battle before I would get to Joe Montana. And again, that's just because of what I grew up watching. But when I first thing I think of number 3 is I think of Michael Floyd. And then I think of Ron Paulus, Rick Meyer, Arnaz Battle, and then guys like that. I don't think of Joe Montana, so I'll sell that one.
Yeah, I'm selling it as well. The first person I think of is Darius Walker. He's the first college running back that I ever sat down and watched.
Paulie B had that same one. Trev, yeah. Jay
Paulie
Patterson had that same one. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and then
D-Rock
Michael
Iverson.
Floyd.
See, I think of 3, it's Montana for me. So again, like it's the era you grew up in.
Yep.
Like, did you even know that Joe Montana wore number 3 at Notre Dame? I'm saying that a little bit hyperbolically. Like, I know you know that, but like, you get my point.
Yeah. Yep. Totally. Number 5, Manti Te'o.
Yes. Bye. The only other one that really pops in my head is, and I don't know what it is, but whenever I think of 5, Manti's the first one. But the other one that tends to pop in my head, Troy Pride a little bit, but Troy changed numbers. But it's Armando. I always think of Armando when I think of number 5, right after Manti. I liked Armando at Notre Dame. He was never the player I hoped he could be because of the injury he had in high school, but I liked Armando, man. So I think of Armando when I think of number 5.
Yeah, I go in order. I go Manti, then I go Everett Golson, honestly, and then I'll go Rima McKnight. Yeah, Rima McKnight I also think of when I think of number 5. Pretty easy one. I don't know where you're going to be on this one. I say kind of sarcastically, number 10, Brady Quinn.
That's a no-brainer. Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Number 25, Rocket Ismail.
No-brainer.
Yeah. Yep.
Eat by.
Number 50, Chris Zorich.
Easy buy. Yeah.
Number 56, Quentin Nelson.
That's a buy. I mean, there's a couple other that pops in my head. I mean, for some reason, when I think of 56, I think of Kerry Neal.
Yeah,
that also pops in my head. Kerry Neal. But yeah, it's Quentin Nelson. Yeah.
And then number 81, Tim Brown.
Sell, because I don't often think of Tim Brown at Notre Dame as much. But I'll buy that. I think about him, but it's not immediate for me. I just I'll think of like somebody else that's like a little bit more recent. Like trying to think. I think it's
John Goodman.
Was he? Yeah, like. But no, if I thought about it, like, oh yeah, Tim Brown, okay, but it doesn't pop in my head like Rocket, like Zorich, like Brady Quinn, like Manti, because again, I barely remember him at Notre Dame. Like I said, the 88 year was my first year that I just remember a lot of that season. The only game I remember from 87, and I don't even know if it's an actual childhood memory or if it's just, having watched the video over the years, is the Michigan State multiple punt return game. But I really don't remember. I remember Tim Brown winning the Heisman, but I don't remember a lot of his career at Notre Dame. As a Broncos fan, I remember a lot of Tim Brown putting in work wearing the silver and black number 81, but not the one at Notre Dame. So, and somebody even older might think Ken McAfee. Like I'm pretty sure Ken McAfee was number 81 as well. So those are the ones that I think of. If you're going to ask me when you think of the Oakland Raiders and you think of number 81, then immediately Tim Brown pops in my head, because that's just, I remember more of that than I just remember him at Notre Dame.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's a good one. That's fun. I always like those trips down memory lane.
That was a fun.
Doug Nimke really just dated himself. He put Paul Hornung at number 5. There you go. A Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Faisal Holt from Ram Cray 75. Ryan Day had a reputation of being soft and not being able to win big games, namely the national championship. He hired Jim Knowles and got his national championship. Faisal Holt with Knowles at Penn State and having a decent roster. Penn State is actually a player now on the national scene and will be better than many of us think.
Well, Trev has him number 1, so I don't know how much better Penn State can get than where Trevor has him. I have him, I think, 3rd or 4th, but I'm going to sell this. First of all, Ryan Day is soft. And yeah, he won the big games last year, but he's still soft. So, that's not going to change. Just because you win a title doesn't mean you're soft. A guy with that talent, that roster, still lost 2 regular season games. Think about that for a second. So he's still soft. I don't think Jim Knowles did a great job there, but I think Chip Kelly was a big driver in that too, because he finally allowed Chip Kelly to kind of let it loose in the playoffs, and you saw that offense really take off. But Penn State's and Jim Knowles is replacing Tom Allen, who I thought did a great job at Penn State last year. But James Franklin is still the head coach, and I've pointed this out to people. It's taken at least 2 years for Jim Knowles' defense to really get into effect. Is that going to change this year? I don't know. It's going to have to. But no, I look. Trevor and I both have Penn State in the top 4, so I don't know how much better than I think we can think they are than a top 4 team.
Yeah.
But yes, Ryan Day is still soft. Some reputations are earned, Trevor.
Agreed. Well, I'll say this about Penn State. It depends on what your definition of will be better than what they think. Yes, I put them as my preseason number 1. I also have them exiting the playoffs, not in the national championship. Also not in the semifinals. So it's just one of those where it's like,
I can't wait for next week's show, man. I still can't wait for next week's show. I want to get our rankings out, our playoff rankings out so bad.
I know, man. I know. So it's like, it's one of those where it's like, do I think they're going to be better? I put them number 1, like Brian and I have talked about so many times on the show, because on paper, I like the roster.
Pre-season ranking, it does not equal postseason projection.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'm going to sell this as well, because I think at the end of the day, their season, give or take a few tweaks, is going to ultimately result in the same Penn State season that we all are familiar with. Yep. So that's where I'm at.
I think their schedule's a little bit ramped up this year too.
It is.
That's going to be very interesting. But yes, Ryan Day is still soft.
Eye on the ball. Assuming decent field position, play number 1 for the 2025 season will be buy, sell, hold each one of these, Brian? You thinking?
Yeah, we're going to buy one, sell one, hold one.
Okay.
And then there's a couple more after this that are similar to this.
Okay.
Yeah.
RPO pass going to Eli Raridan, swing pass to Jeremiah Love, or off-tackle dive play to Jeremiah Love?
I'm going to buy the off-tackle off-tackle dive play to Jeremiah Love. I don't think it'll be a dive, but an off-tackle run. I think they'll run mid-zone or counter on play 1 and against Miami. So I'll go with that. I will hold the RPO pass going to Eli Raridan, because I could see them running inside run. Miami crashes, he pulls and hits Eli Raridan, and then I'll sell a swing pass to Jeremiah Love, but I think they're all actually pretty decent options.
Yeah.
So I could see all of them. They're really good options.
Only thing I'm doing different than you is I'm buying the RPO pass play and then holding the off-tackle run play to J Love. I on the road, first-time starter, trying to get him into a rhythm. So that's kind of where my thought process goes with that. But, yeah, it's none of those are bad options. All of them are very viable options, honestly.
Yep.
First touchdown pass of the 2025 season will be Malachi Fields corner fade, Jaden Greathouse crossing pattern, screen pass to Aeneas Williams.
I'm going to buy Malachi Fields corner fade because I just want to see that. That's just that's a hope buy.
Yeah.
I will hold. I'm actually going in order. Hold Jaden Greathouse crossing pattern, and then screen pass Aeneas Williams I'll sell. Because I think if it's going to be a screen pass, I think it's going to be going to Jeremiah Love or Jadarian Price on an early down situation.
Yep. Same order. Dark horse first touchdown of the season. Not pass, but just first touchdown. What if they just let's say CJ wins the starting job and everybody's like, oh, it's the less mobile guy. What are they going to do without Riley Leonard? And the first touchdown of the season is a CJ Carr run.
A scramble or holding it on a read zone and going backside for like 25 yards. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How about the first touchdown of the season being a defensive touchdown? How would that be? Because like here's I'm trying to think of it. I would argue that in my lifetime, the two teams that had the best shot to win a title or a team that won a title is the 88-93 teams. Both of those seasons, Notre Dame's first touchdown was not an offensive touchdown. Ricky Waters' punt return against Michigan in 1988. Pete Bursich with a pick six against Northwestern in 1993. How you like them apples? I think in 89, I'm pretty sure, I'm going to look it up now, but I'm pretty sure 89, their first touchdown was an offensive touchdown. But yeah, 88-93, Notre Dame's first touchdown of the season, it was a non-offensive touchdown. How about that? How about that?
That might be something to keep an eye on. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So just have a little bit of fun with that one. Doesn't mean a dang thing, but I just thought it'd be fun to get into. The 2012, their first touchdown was an offensive touchdown. 2015, who did they play in the? Was it?
It was Texas in the opener.
2017, Texas in the opener. That was an offensive touchdown. I think it was Josh Adams on a run, wasn't it? Didn't he score?
It was Will Fuller. Will Fuller on a backside in route. Malik Zaire hit him
over the middle. Okay, because I remember Josh's first carry of his career. A lot of people forget this. Well, some people forget this. Josh Adams' first touch of his career at Notre Dame was a touchdown run, and that was the second touchdown of that game. I'm looking at it now, Trev. So yeah, 16-yard in cut, Malik Zaire to Will Fuller. Touchdown number 2 was a 14-yard touchdown run, 9-play, 95-yard drive. And that was the first touch of the career for Josh Adams. Scored 2 touchdowns that game.
Yep, he did.
Yep. So that's where I'm going with it. So if their first touchdown's not an offensive touchdown, I'm gonna be like, okay, let's go, let's do this.
Hand him the trophy. Excited. Let's just save the wear and tear on everybody. Let's ride.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
First turnover to Notre Dame will be a fumble recovery by a D lineman, an interception by a defensive back, or a Kingston Viliama-Asa scoop and score.
Now, this kind of ties in with the last thing that we were just talking about. It would be kind of cool if it was like a scoop and score by KVA. That'd be a pretty amazing way to start the season. I'll go interception because I'm looking at the opponent and just kind of, Carson Beck, game 1, brand new receivers in a new system. He's a guy that has a tendency to throw some picks. I think that's the most likely option of turnovers. And then I'll go fumble recovery by a D-line member as my hold. Then I'll sell the KV scoop and score just because it's less likely of a play. But, man, I hope that's the one. I hope I'm wrong on this one. That'd be awesome. Because, I mean, in all seriousness, that's how you win road games against good teams. And I think Miami's a good team. Get that big, or that big touchdown on defense or special teams that just really gets you some emotion or some momentum in a game. That's huge. That's huge. So if you can get a defensive touchdown, that'd be major early in that game. Major.
Absolutely. I'm with you. Same order. Irish English buy sell hold.
There's going to be real quick. There's going to be a second page to this. So this sets up the buy sell hold that's coming, just to give you a heads up.
Good deal. Quick refresher, recent quarterback rushing totals. 2024, Riley Leonard, 906. 2023, Sam Hartman, 123. Drew Pine, 108. And Tyler Buckner, 123 in 2022. Jack Cohn, the statue, minus 100 in 2021. Tyler Buckner had 336 in 2021. Ian Book, in the COVID year in 2020, had 485. So, buy, sell, hold. If FanDuel had an over-under for 2025 rushing yardage for the starting quarterback, it should be set at 499.5 yards.
I'm going to sell that. I think it should be lower. Part of it is because I think it depends on who your starting quarterback is. I still think that it's going to be CJ Carr, and I don't think CJ Carr is going to run for 500 yards. I don't think he's going to run for minus 20, but I'd say if it's CJ Carr, I'd probably set it at like 300, 299.5 if you want to go with the kind of way you do it. I would say it's more closer to that.
Yeah, I
That'd
would
be
too. I've looked. FanDuel has like future stats up, but it's more for like championship odds, playoff odds. So they don't have anything on that. But I am also going to sell this. I think it'll be a little lower. I think it would be around the. I'd probably go like the 385.5 mark, probably somewhere around there. And follow up, buy, sell, hold. The starting Notre Dame quarterback will be under 499.5 yards rushing this year. That I would
buy that. If it's incorrect, that means the quarterback's going to be very dangerous.
Yeah,
whoever it is, but yeah, that would be very good.
Domer Grizz, the over-under for the number of offensive snaps for Dallas Golden this year should be set at 0.5, and you'd take the under.
I mean, that's not much of a. I mean, I'd take the under, but if I was going to take the time to do odds, I'd probably go more than that. But I'd still take the under, even at that one. So sure.
Yep. Buy, sell, hold. Same premise, but for his Notre Dame career.
I'll take the over.
I would as well.
Yeah, I'll take the over on that one.
I would as well.
Sorry, I just saw two responses from Guns N' Roses and Tristan.
Yeah.
The same. Yeah. They put those in at the same exact time. It was great. It's absolutely great. Thanks, guys.
Domer Grizz with another buy, sell, hold. This team is deep and athletic enough that none of the offensive or defensive starters should play on special teams. That would allow for full field special teams practices while the starters are going 11v11 on another field. I definitely buy that the team is deep enough to do that. I know with a lot of the incoming freshmen and some of like the underclassmen left on this roster, like the Bodie Cahoons of the world, the Teddy Rizaks, players like that, Marty Biaggi is going to have plenty of players at his disposal to field an entire special teams unit. Now, there's some questions of getting into like who some of the offensive linemen are going to be on like PAT or field goal attempts. You might see a starting offensive lineman in there, give or take, but they are deep enough that in theory they don't have to use them. So I do buy it that this team is deep enough and athletic enough for that to be true.
I'm going to sell it because I still feel like you want your best players at certain spots on special teams. I think there's a case to be made that in certain spots and with certain players, you're going to want to not have that guy out there. Like if you're going to ramp up, let's say Kingston wins the will job and he's not going to take as many Mike snaps away from Drake, there may be some special teams I want to get Drake off of because I have a lot of faith that Bodie Cahoon and Madden Faramo can go down and do a great job in that role as well in Drake's place. But there's still going to be spots where like this guy is definitely my best player for that role. And I'd say in those situations, like let's just say Leonard Moore's your gunner. I mean, you got a 6'2" guy who's a really good tackler and really fast. I don't think you're really putting him at risk of greater injury by being a gunner on that team. I'm okay with that. Would I take maybe some guys off of my kickoff coverage team or my punt coverage team in certain situations? Sure, maybe. You know, like, do I need Eli Raridan on my kick return team? No, not really. I've got other, so it depends on the player, but I do think that the depth is such that you don't need as many starters as maybe they did in like year 1 and year 2.
Yeah.
Because you do have the depth that you have. And so I'll buy that.
Good point.
I mean, I'll sell that, but I get where you're coming from. I'm the premise is totally fair, but I still think there's going to be some starters that you want out there.
Oh, sure. I mean, first full day of fall camp, we saw Jaden Greathouse fielding punts. I get that completely. Aiden Benami, Indiana will beat Illinois.
So,
with you.
Basically, in that game, Trev, I'm taking the home team. Like wherever it would be played, I'd be taking the home team. This game's at Illinois, so I'm going to take Illinois. If the game was being played at Indiana, I'd take Indiana. I think they're very close in the Big Ten, but I think the home team wins that game. Or at least it's who I'm going to predict to win that game. But I think it'll be a great game. Look, Kurt Cignetti annoys me with how he's acted since they got in the playoff. Somebody had on Twitter today, I saw his little we kicked the you-know-what out of ranked teams because he was bragging about beating number 22 Liberty and number 25 Nebraska, who like finished 7-6. And then just some stuff he said to someone's like, dude, you're annoying me. But you know what? He's still a great coach. He's still a very successful coach. He's just freaking blowhard. But that's his personality. It's genuine. It's just who he is. It's annoying. It's going to be a very good team this year. Very good team this year. And I'm going to be annoyed every time they win a game having to listen to him talk about how great he is and how great his program is. But that's going to be a really good team. I just think in that instance, so will Illinois and Brett Bielema. They're going to be a pretty good team too. He's a pretty good football coach also. And so I'm going to go with Illinois. If they were playing later in the year, maybe I'd go with Indiana. But that's going to be what, like game 3 or 4 for Francisco Mendoza?
I think so, yeah.
So like I'm still going to go with Illinois in that game.
By so hold, James Franklin and company will beat Oregon or Ohio State.
I actually, right now on my season prediction, I actually have them have them beating Oregon at home. And a big part of that is because they'll be rebuilding a lot with their skill players. And they won't have that veteran presence to calm things down like they had in Dylan Gabriel last year. But it's one of those things, Trev. Let me look up the Penn State schedule because if I remember correctly, they don't have like a really tough game around it, so they'll be able to kind of be fresh for it. But I just want to be, they're coming off a bye, and they will have played Nevada, Florida International, and Villanova, so they're going to be very rested. On the flip side of that, my counter to that would be: will they be a little bit too rested? Whereas Oregon's going to have played Oklahoma State, Northwestern, and Oregon State coming into that game, meaning they're going to be closer to being up to speed with that game than Penn State will. They're going to go from Penn State's going to go from playing Nevada, FIU, and Villanova, and then Oregon. We saw them have trouble with that speed last year, but they don't have Tez Johnson. They don't have Evan Stewart this year. That's really part of the reason why I'm taking Penn State in that game. But there's just a lot of new at Oregon, and that's game 4, or actually game 5, I think, for Oregon. But that's where I'm at on that. Yeah, it's game 5 for Oregon. They're playing Montana State, Oklahoma State, Northwestern, Oregon State, and then Penn State. So that's where I'm at on that one. Oklahoma State, and he's got to win the job, but Oklahoma State's got a young kid that we talked about. I'm trying to remember what his name was, Trev, but he's part of the reason that the guy that transferred in left. They got a young quarterback that I when we were doing like our quarterback breakdown, I went back and watched some of his high school film and got some clips of him. The kid has never thrown a pass there, but he's a guy that I absolutely am very curious to see play. Let me find him. Zane Flores is his name. If he wins that job, I'm going to be very curious to see what that Oklahoma State offense looks like. But the point is, Oregon's going to be more tested going into that game too, which is going to force those newcomers to get adjusted quickly in those games. But I'm still taking Penn State for now.
You and I see that the same.
Penn State started slow last year. Like they won games, but they weren't super impressive early in the season, especially offensively. Now, part of that was getting used to the Chris Kotelnicki offense. I think that was part of it. But, they've been a team that's been – they'll grind you out early in the season, and then they get better as the season wears on. But I also think Penn State being in year 2 of the Andy Kotelnicki era is going to allow them to be more effective also and maybe get up to speed a little faster. But they're not going to be tested at all before Oregon. But I do not have them beating Ohio State because they're not at Ohio State. No. But he said so I'm buying it overall. But it won't be Ohio State. If they lose at home to Oregon, I'm immediately going to drop them from being a playoff team for me.
Yep.
Because they'd have at Iowa, at Ohio State, home against Indiana, at Michigan State, home against Nebraska. If they get beat at home by Oregon that early in the season, they're dropping at least one more game. Because they're not beating Ohio State at Ohio State. And then now I'm like, okay, can they beat Iowa at Iowa? Can they beat Indiana? Can they beat Michigan State at Michigan State? Like, that's a big game for Penn State at home. Big game.
That is.
Big game. But I think they win it as of today.
I do as well. And the show that we're doing next Saturday is going to be a lot of fun. because I am buying that they will beat Oregon or Ohio State. Buy, sell, hold. It will be very difficult for Cole Mullins or Brendan Vernon to see meaningful minutes at Notre Dame.
I buy that it's going to be difficult and they're going to have to earn them, but I sell. So I buy it from just the text of what I think you're saying. I'm going to sell what I believe the spirit of what you're saying, meaning you're saying very difficult, meaning they're not going to play meaningful minutes. I think Cole Mullen plays meaningful minutes in Notre Dame. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. There's very good players he's battling against, but I think he does. You saw it today, Trev, when he is an athletic kid at that size. Like, he's going to play. Will he be a starter? Don't know that. But meaningful downs as part of the rotation, barring another injury or him transferring out, Cole Mullins is going to play for Notre Dame. I have no doubt in my mind he's going to play for Notre Dame.
I think it could be this year. I really do.
Agreed.
I mean, with Jordan Botelho still coming back from injury, we still don't know the workload that's going to be put on Boubacar's plate when he gets back. They're going to be facing some big offensive lines early in the first part of the schedule. Yeah, man. I mean, having a 6'5", 270+ pound edge setting defensive end, yeah, it's a good spot to be in. So I'm with you. Aiden Benami, after seeing Steve Angeli's comments about last year was the most fun playing football he's ever had. We've seen other players have the same sentiment. Last year was probably everyone's favorite or most fun they've had, give or take a few.
I'll buy that because that's what the kids are saying about the season. So, yeah, I'll buy that. Yeah. How could you not have fun? I mean, they were not only winning week after week after week, they were killing people.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids were playing.
Yeah. I mean, I buy that's probably what they're saying. I'll buy that. I know it was the most fun I've had watching Notre Dame in my lifetime. That ride was something. A lot of fun.
Yep.
Brian Kelly is overdoing this Clemson game 1-0 stuff and trying to do his normal wannabe hard per usual. Jimmy Hart is more of a tough guy than Brian Kelly.
No, I'm selling that. Like, yes, he's overdoing the whole Clemson thing again, but look, Brian Kelly, y'all have seen him, right? That's a little dude. He played linebacker. Like, I don't like Brian Kelly. I think Brian Kelly's not a good person, but if I had to scrap, I would not be completely against Brian Kelly having I'd be worried about him having my back because I don't think he would have my back. But if it came down to it, I bet you Brian Kelly could get after a little bit. Like, he was a linebacker. He started as a D coordinator. Like, I bet you Brian Kelly, if push came to shove, I bet you Brian Kelly could get after a little bit. So no, he would. And Jimmy Hart was a little fella. Jimmy Hart being the old wrestling manager, he would put a whooping on Jimmy Hart. So yeah. I'd just tell him, hey, Jimmy Hart stole your golf clubs, and Brian Kelly would lose it, just beat the mess out of him. So, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, overdoing it, maybe. I'm with you. I share the same sentiment. Brian Kelly's, he's corny. He's cheesy. Some of the stuff he says is annoying.
He's not nearly as funny as he thinks he is.
No, but I also don't have a whole lot of issue with like going 1-0 against Clemson because that's the same message that gets shared from Notre Dame's coaching staff when asked about the opportunity for this season. It's like, hey, we got to go 1-0 against Miami. I really don't.
But I do think he takes it to another level and he's done this. He did this in Notre Dame where it's not just like, look, guys, that's the game in front of us. We're just focused on winning that game. He takes it to like this must-win type of pressure that he's done before at Notre Dame. And that's where I come across of it, throwing little barbs at Clemson. It's like, dude, I don't know if that's the fight you want to pick. You don't want to disrespect Dabo because that's when Dabo's in his element.
Yeah.
When like Bill Bender said this, man, it was so prophetic. When they were getting ready, George was going to go play Texas at Texas. He picked Texas Georgia to win that game because he said, this is perfect for Kirby Smart. Kirby never gets to play the disrespect card, but that's what they're being overlooked. Texas is going to win and all that. And that is not where you want Kirby Smart to be. Yeah. And I feel the same way about Dabo. Yeah, call Death Valley Jr. and you know what I mean, and see how Dabo handles that, like with his players. Like, yeah, Like that's the kind of fight you don't want to pick. Now I think, but that's what we're talking about. That's Brian Kelly. He wasn't trying to throw shade, in my opinion. He was trying to be funny. But when you're not funny, it comes across as you're being a jerk. You know, and like I said, when we were asked about it, I don't think that was Brian Kelly, because him and Dabo are very friendly. Like they get along well. They have respect for each other as coaches. I think that's where it came from. But of course, the way he says it, and then the way the media is nowadays, where we turn like non-stories into stories, like, you know, quarterback taking a little extra time, throwing on the side during stretch, and we want to pretend that's a story. Like just as an example, for instance, you know, of making things a story that aren't stories. I think that Death Valley Jr. thing was blown up. I don't think that was Brian Kelly's intention, was to like throw shade, but it came across that way because because of his personality. And so I think that, you know, it's like, I'm watching the Any Given Saturday thing on Netflix, and it's the part with Brian Kelly on it. And it's just it's like, dude, the way you need a personality coach, because the way you say things makes you sound like such a jerk. But I know Brian Kelly, and I know he's trying to be funny there. And I'm not going to just hammer him just to hammer him when I don't genuinely think he was trying to be a jerk there. I think he was trying to be funny, but he's just not funny. And that's where I think it came from, honestly. But you've now given, but it was unwise, even with him trying to be funny and lighthearted. I think Brian Kelly honestly was trying to be funny and lighthearted in that moment. I do. But it's still like, you got to be smart enough to know, because he always reminds us, I bet, how many years he's been coaching in college football. You've got to know that that's going to get taken and they're going to run with it. You got to be smarter than that, because that's not a team you want to piss off. It's just not. It's not. Remember how Dabo played that disrespect card the whole game going into 2023 against Notre Dame? They beat our butts last year, and nobody thinks we can win. And they came out fired up. And
I mean, shoot, man, the year that Dabo and Clemson went 15-0 and won the Natty in 2018, he played the disrespect card, and nobody was even disrespecting him.
I know.
I mean, that is not the. I mean, they started the season preseason number one. They were the favorites to win the national championship. All that stuff. They go 15-0, and in the post-game press conference, the dude was breaking down. He's like, "Nobody expected us to be here," and it's like everybody expected you to be here. But
yes, what are you talking about, dude? Like nobody thought you were. You know, you were gonna. Everybody thought you were gonna be good.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what are you talking about? You were it. This was the team that everybody thought. It was you. But
the Roy bus is the place to be. I mean, like, because that's where you are. Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. It was really funny. It really was. It really was. But yeah, it's not a guy you want to tick off.
No. D. Masak 2, buy, sell, hold. Having already played a game in Hard Rock Stadium, last year's Orange Bowl, makes going into Miami less daunting for those players because they already played in a bigger game and against a better team in that stadium, came out victorious.
I think that's fair. There's a lot of Penn State fans in that stadium. Now, if you don't start well, it will be louder against you than it was that game. Because even though there was a lot of Penn State fans, they're most likely going to be more Notre Dame fans in the stadium for the Orange Bowl than there will be for this game. But yeah, I think that's a great point. I think that's a great point, because guys, the last time we were here, it was way more at stake. We were win or go home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not the stakes here. So I think that's a great point. Great observation. Great observation.
100%. Tay Johnson.
I love the Irish Breakdown community. I seriously, man, because some of the stuff y'all come up with and the observant nature you guys have and the depth of these questions are really awesome. I really am. But like, that's an example of it. Like, is Miami a tough place to play? Yeah. Would it not go well for Notre Dame? Yeah, but nobody on staff and nobody on this team roster was part of that game. They were all part of the Orange Bowl where they played in that stadium. Notre Dame had white jerseys on in that game, which meant they were the road team, which means they were in the locker room they're going to be in for this game, and they came out victorious. So I think that's a great observation. Great observation.
Yep, absolutely. Another one from D. Masak 2. Tate Johnson records at least one interception against either Miami or Texas A&M.
I'll hope by that one. That's fair. I mean, because if he's in the game, with a Don Shula, they're going to say, well, let's throw at that guy who's never played a meaningful snap of football. So yeah, and we saw in that first practice that cat's got some range now. So
Yeah. Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
got
that's
some
fair.
range.
Kansas versus Missouri on September 6th is a highly underrated rivalry game, especially given each team's recent success. Success by Kansas standards, but nonetheless, this being their first meeting in 14 years. I'm gonna sell it.
Yeah, go ahead,
Just
Trev.
I'm gonna sell it just because I don't know if you can really call it. Is it really an underrated rivalry game if they haven't met in 14 years?
Right, that's kind of exactly.
I mean, it's
It used to be a good rivalry, like as far as like talking trash, but like even then, I mean, when they were playing every year, Kansas was pretty bad. Not always. I mean, they had that stretch under Glenn Mason where they were pretty good, and then they had that stretch under Mark Mangino where they were pretty good. But for the most part, they haven't been good.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much of a rivalry that is. What's ironic about that, Trev, is I'm looking this up, and I would not have guessed this. It's 56, 55, and 9. That's the all-time record in that game. Missouri's won 5 of the last 6, but like we talked about it, that 03 to 05, that Mangino stretch that Kansas had some success. But yeah, surprising. Yeah, Kansas also won. So okay, here's what say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Here's what it is. From 1891 to 1908, Kansas went 13, 3, and 2 against Missouri. Tied 2 more, won another one. So yeah, yeah, there you go. It's like the Michigan Notre Dame rivalry. The reason Michigan has the lead over Notre Dame in their rivalry is because they won like the first 7 or 8 back in like the 1800s and the early 1900s. It's like Michigan fans like to say, well, we taught you how to play football. I'm like, that's not the own you think it is because we got better at it. But Michigan won the first, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, first 8, and then 10 of the first 12. So it's like, okay. It's been like basically 50-50 since then. Like, it's not like Notre Dame's dominated since then, but like it's been 50-50 since then. It's been a back and forth rivalry. But like, you in those games were played, Trev, between 1887 and 1908. And then when Notre Dame beat them in 1909, Michigan stopped playing them. They didn't play again until 1942.
Jeez.
That's another example of being soft. Some people don't like that word, but when it fits, you use it.
The immaculate extension, buy, sell, hold. If you could build a Frankenstein route runner using Notre Dame's current pass catchers, it would look like this. Releases would be Jaden Greathouse. Stems would be Jordan Faison. Top end breaks would be Will Pauling. And physicality would be Malachi Fields.
Yeah, I like that, actually. I'll buy that. I mean, you can nitpick at this, but I like that. Yeah, especially if you're going to say, hey, try to use a different guy for each one. Yeah, I like that. If you're going to use top end and breaks and make those different, I think you could maybe pick somebody else for top ends, maybe a KK Smith or a Cam Williams. But I'm fine with that. I dig that. I like that. I'll buy that. That's really good. It's really good.
Combining top end and breaks, I love that you used Will Pauling. He's a very underrated route runner for Notre Dame, honestly.
Oh yeah.
So that you combine top end and breaks, love the Will Pauling fit. Yeah, definitely.
And he's fast too. Too, but I just like my fast guys to be a little bit taller, unless they're like Rocket running 4.2s,
Yeah. Sunlit Night, 1964. Though not on paper, the real third string quarterback for Notre Dame this year is Tyler Buckner.
This is another example of what I'm talking about, Trev. I love, so he's basically saying on the depth chart, they're going to list Blake Hebert third. But if push came to shove, then it's actually they'd go with Buckner. All right, so there's another buy sell hold about this later that we'll dive into it more. But for now, I'm going to buy that. And I'm going to explain why I buy that when we get to the next buy sell hold that asks it in a way that my explanation for why I buy this will be valid. So I buy it for now. We'll hold on to it. So Sunlit Night, we'll get back to this later. Trev, buy or sell that one?
Oh, I'm buying this, and I'll
Okay.
also dive in the yep. Buy, sell, hold. Every year, it seems there's at least one preseason top 10 team that fails to finish in the top 25. This year, that team will be the Alabama Crimson Tide.
So let's use the coaches poll because that's the only one that's out so far. So you've got Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Clemson, Oregon, Bama, LSU, Miami. I have 2 of those teams not finishing the top 10, and it ain't Bama, so I'm selling that. I don't have LSU, and I don't have Miami finishing the top 10. And I think Oregon's questionable. But for now, I still have Oregon in the top 10. But I don't think LSU or Miami finish in the top 10. And I don't have either of them in my preseason top 10 either. But if I'm looking at what the coaches have in the top 10, then I'm going to go with that. If I'm looking at my top 10, my 2 best bets for not finishing the top 10 are Indiana and Arizona State.
Yeah.
Because my top 10 is, like Trev said, a preseason look on where they should be based on what they did last year and what they've got coming back. And I think Arizona State and Indiana both deserve to be in the top 10. I just don't think that both of them are going to finish in the top 10. Maybe one of them, but not both of them. But based on the coaches poll, I'm going LSU and Miami. But I am selling. I think this Alabama team is going to be very good.
Yep, I'm selling this one as well. It's every year we do see that common trend. I don't think it's going to be Alabama. Not finishing in the top 25 is a steep
I missed
ask.
that part.
I mean,
yeah, I missed that part. Miami's my pick for that.
Yep, that one is mine as well.
But I could see LSU not finishing the top 25 either. We have another submission about that. But I overlooked the not finishing the top 25 thing. I took it as top 10, but that's still my pick doesn't change. But I did fail to observe that. And I still feel that way about Arizona State and Indiana. I could see both of them falling out of the top 25.
Yeah.
But so even though I did overlook it, it doesn't change my answer.
Beezer 12, washing beard. It's been a second, I think, since we've gotten a buy so hold from old Beezer.
I noticed that when you're putting it in. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to see you back.
What up, Bees? Love it. Buy so hold, Lane Kiffin, Lincoln Riley, Brett Venables.
I'm going to buy Lane Kiffin. I'm going to hold Lincoln Riley, and I'm going to sell Brent Venables.
Yep.
But I'd rather hold or sell all of them. But in that instance, I'll look. Lane Kiffin's done a nice job last couple of years with Ole Miss. Like my big question with him last year, I said, look, Lane Kiffin's never strung together back-to-back good seasons. He did. I would argue they underachieved a little bit last year, but he still had 10 wins for the second straight year.
Yeah.
Something he hadn't done before. So, yeah.
That'd be an interesting coaching staff. Lane Kiffin, head coach, Lincoln Riley, OC, Brett Venables, DC. That'd be fun.
Yeah. You know what? In that instance, you know who I would take as my head coach in that instance? I'd take Brent Venables. I'd make Lane Kiffin my OC, Lincoln Riley my quarterback's coach. Because I think with Brent Venables as the head coach, you got a better shot of having some toughness.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Buy so hold, Notre Dame will be the only undefeated team at the end of the regular season.
I'm going to hope by that one. Yeah, I'll hope by that one. We're talking Power 4 teams. I'll hope by that one. You know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to sell it because I don't think they're going to be the only undefeated team. So I kind of initially jumped on them being undefeated. I think that there'll be more. I think this year there'll be at least 2 undefeated teams in the Power 4 level this year. And I include Notre Dame as part of the Power 4.
Yep. Per my prediction for the season in the playoffs, I'm selling. Notre Dame will be one of 2.
Okay. I love it.
So that's where I'm at. Buy, sell, hold. Notre Dame will be the only undefeated team at the end of the postseason. Okay.
I plead the fifth on that one until next Saturday. I will say that I buy that there's an opportunity for that to be the case.
Yep. Notre Dame will have at least 2 freshman All-Americans this year.
Ooh, that's a good one. Do we count true freshmen, or do we going to go with the redshirt freshmen like some of the teams do? If we go redshirt freshmen, like some of those freshman All-American teams have redshirt freshmen, then I definitely buy that. Like I think the football. Let me look this up real quick. I Football Writers Association. freshman All-American team 2024. Let me find this here real quick. Right. Let's go. Okay. I'll find this question. All right. So last year's freshman All-American team had redshirt freshmen on it. So on a quarterback, they had Lenore Sellers and DJ Lagway. They had Mason Williams from Ohio, who's a redshirt freshman, Elisha Page from USC. So, yes, I will buy that. So, like, that's one of the official ones. I will buy that. Because that includes Tay Johnson. That includes CJ Carr. That includes, Jack Larson. That includes, I mean, there's going to be several guys. Cam Williams. Yeah, Micah Gilbert. That would include Micah Gilbert. That's another good one. That would include
Kedron Young.
Kedron. Yep, that's another good one. Offensive line-wise, that doesn't include anybody. I have to think through some more. But, yeah, I will buy that one.
Yep.
On top of the true freshman. Now, where I would sell it is if it's got to be true freshmen, because I just don't know if enough freshmen are going to get playing time outside of injuries. That's my concern. Yeah.
Riley Leonard will start at least one game for the Indianapolis Colts this year.
I'm going to hope by that one. I mean, look, with Anthony Richardson's injury history, I think that's certainly possible. I'm looking up here. Again, you guys know I don't follow the NFL that closely. I know they had Joe Flacco on their team recently. I don't know. I know that there's some other veteran quarterback. Was it Daniel Jones? Okay, so like I could see Daniel Jones being that guy if Anthony Richardson gets hurt. But Daniel Jones has had his own issues staying healthy. So I could certainly see that. I'll hope by that one.
Yeah, straight up, I think I might just buy this. I mean, historically, the Colts have always just kind of, once they get to that point in the season, they're kind of in that weird purgatory of they're never going to be bad enough to get like a top 8 pick, but they're never going to be good enough to go on a playoff run. That's kind of where they're at right now. I think there could just be a game where they just throw in and say, you know what, the heck with it. Riley, get out there. Let's see what you can do, because the quarterback room they have ahead of them right now is pretty lackluster, I'll say. So
Anthony Richardson is the test case, the perfect example of why getting drafted high does not mean it's smart to go pro. Because Anthony Richardson was the number 4 overall draft pick. He wasn't anywhere close to being ready. Teams don't draft guys in the top 5 anymore and say, we're going to be okay waiting for a couple of years like you should. And he needed at least another year of college, at least another year of development. And he didn't get it. And that's why, he's going to get that first contract, but his second contract's most likely not going to be anything close to what his first one was. And that's why I think you got to be smart about, are you ready? I know you're going to get drafted high, but are you ready? Because the NFL has no patience for rookies, not like they used to. Like if you're not that guy, they're invested 4 years in you. And because rookie contracts aren't as expensive for them anymore, like they used to be, remember like when Sam Bradford was getting his monster rookie deal and Jamarcus Russell got his monster rookie deal. They're not paying that kind of money relative to the overall salaries like they used to. So that was an unwise decision.
Yeah, agreed. Getting into part 2 of the Irish Breakdown podcast today. Buy, sell, hold, brought to you by FanDuel, part of the Believe Network. Sean McCardle, buy, sell, hold. You can guarantee a split of the first 2 games. Smack Miami, I hate them, and lose a close contest to A&M, knowing CJ and Kenny will get much better as the season progresses. Not sure we can make the playoffs starting 0-2. And Sean McCardle does not think that Notre Dame will start 0-2, by the way.
I'm trying to, I think there was I thought they're saying, okay, so you can guarantee a split of the first 2 games and lose a contest to A&M knowing CJ Kenny will get much better as the season progresses. Not sure we can make the playoffs starting 0-2. Sell that? I kind of don't quite understand what he's asking here.
Basically, it's you. Essentially, how I read this is you would be okay Notre Dame going 1-1 between Miami and Texas A&M. We can split it however we want, as long as that means CJ and Kenny improve over the course of the season. Pretty much
I sell that. I will buy that going 1-1 does not crush their season if it means growth for the quarterbacks. Yeah, I'll buy that premise that's can be a good thing for Notre Dame. They'll survive that. I mean, look, they lost to Northern Illinois in week 2 last year and made the playoff and hosted. They were the 5th ranked team in the country. I don't know if you want to take that risk again this year, because I do think there's going to be some better teams, but yeah, as long as they're competitive games, like you said, losing a close game to A&M, that'll be fine. Yeah, that'll be fine. They'll be okay from that. Losing one of the first 2 games is not going to end Notre Dame's season.
No.
The only thing way would really crush them is if they just get blown out by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's kind of like you got to get over that stigma all year. Who's the win you're going to earn later in the year that's going to kind of erase that kind of stink of that game?
Missed Emil Wagner, high school and college version of Brian Driscoll would thrive in today's in-depth and immediate information era.
If I could still be raised when I was raised, sure. But in all honesty, I'd have to sell this, because it's like we always talk about when we're comparing different eras. Well, so-and-so couldn't play in the modern era. Yeah, he could, because he would have been raised in the current era. He would have had the nutrition, the health, and all this of the current era, and he'd have been fine. But I would have been like a lot of these young people, don't know what it's like to sit down and read a book, need it all right now, can't communicate beyond 240 characters, all these different things. We would have struggled with that. I would have struggled with that as well. Absolutely. Because you're a product of your environment. And that's what they were brought up on. The current generation, I mean, this is all, they've known this their whole life. Where for us, it's adults. It's like, man, I need to unplug. I need to get off social media for a couple of days. For them, it's like, well, that's not even that's unheard of. How will I communicate with the world? Like, go over to your friend's house and talk to them. You're cracking crazy. But like, in all seriousness, like, it's easy for us to sit back with how we were raised and people my age without this as an option of a distraction and condemn people that have only known that. It's very easy to do that. But if I don't know that I could say, if I was raised in the current era, I would have the same feeling I do about things now. Things might bother me more. I might think that way. I mean, as an adult, I still struggle with, like, okay, I got to put this down, because it's like I just spent an hour going through doing nothing except scrolling through this. So I don't know that I could say I would thrive any different than what kids nowadays thrive. I would have the same struggles that they do, in my opinion.
Growing up in it was weird. Like, growing up in the rise of all of this was interesting, because, when I started out, and I don't mean when I was like 3, I mean when I was like 10, 11 years old, it was, you communicated with your friends by going over to their house and like memorizing phone numbers that you used on the house phone and all that stuff. And then as I started going throughout high school, that's when social media really took off. And that's when phones were so big. I didn't even get my first cell phone until my freshman year of college. And so that was a weird dynamic, growing up and seeing the change in it. So having to kind of learning to unplug, to Brian's point, was something that you just kind of had to do as time went on. So it's a weird dynamic with like my generation, because we saw what it was like before, and then we saw what it was like during the rise of it, and then we know what it is now. It's
like 18, 19, 20-year-olds, this is all they've known.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. So I'd like to look down all high and mighty, like, nope, it wouldn't bother me. But if I was being honest and said, well, if I was raised in the same era, I would have a lot of the same issues and struggles that they do. The same stuff being beat into my head that they do, and be a lot tougher. Yeah. A lot tougher. But that's not as much fun to say, I would know better. Like, not as much fun.
13 reasons why Marcus Freeman is learning what makes a great coach, ergo Mike Mickens, Dylan McCullough himself, and will earn a reputation for developing coaches as current ones move to advance their careers.
I definitely buy this. And part of it is because he does a great job of demanding coaches to take ownership of aspects of their room, which I think makes you better. I think there's an accountability to what they're doing, especially as he's gotten further along into his career. One of the best ways to help develop coaches is to give them responsibility, give them more, make them be more accountable for certain things, demand excellence in all phases of their job, and then trust them.
Yeah,
that's a big part of it.
Down the road, I'm talking, in like 5-10 years from now, it would not shock me if people started talking about like the Marcus Freeman coaching tree, like where they came from and coordinators and position coach that he worked under. I agree completely. Freeman, Natty, buy, sell, hold, assuming healthy. Anthony Knapp is the starting left tackle at the end of the season.
Barring injury, yeah, buy. It's an easy buy. Look, the only guys that I think are capable physically of pushing him, one of them spent the entire fall camp so far playing guard. The other one is injured, and the other one is taking every snap at right tackle. So there's no one even in competition with him right now. Like, he's literally putting a beggar competition behind Billy Schrouth in the first week of camp than Anthony Knapp, because he's got Will Black playing guard. So, yeah. Challenge everything except the left tackle, which I think could potentially hurt Anthony Knapp, because you all need that challenge of someone behind you. But from what I've been told about Anthony Knapp, I don't know that that's going to bother him all that much, because I think Anthony Knapp's a little bit self-motivated to go out there and just be better, which is a good sign.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a frustration that I have. But even if Will Black was playing left tackle every day in practice, my answer still wouldn't change. It's just more of a given now.
Yep.
The biggest reason why I think Anthony Knapp's going to be the starting left tackle by the end of the season is just watching Anthony Knapp in fall camp so far.
Mm-hmm.
But it's made even easier answer when you realize that he's not even going to put anybody there to really push him and challenge him.
Agreed. Hayden, 32, Notre Dame and Under Armour will honor NIL deals like Jeremiah Loves, who just got with New Balance, and allow them to wear those brands on game day.
I believe, Trevor, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm buying this because I believe there was some rule that was passed that was basically saying, like, you could wear your gear. If you have a deal with someone, you can wear that gear. I believe that was something I saw about a year or so ago.
Yep, you are correct. And I forgot his name. It might be Cam. It might be Cam Coleman got some sort of NIL deal with like he like changed the brand of his cleats, because I saw like a video of somebody making them custom cleats, but it's not who like reps the team brand.
Yeah.
With Auburn now, so you are correct. So I'm buying that as well. Buy, sell, hold from Josh. CSP 77. Love declares for the draft at the end of the season, but Jadarian Price decides to come back for his senior year and is the new 1A back for 2026.
Sell. And this is honestly a hope sell for me.
Yep.
I don't want Jadarian Price at Notre Dame in 2026. And the reason why is very selfish, because it means him and Jeremiah both were monsters. And this Notre Dame team is really good and made another deep run, and he's going pro, and he's going to be drafted in day 2. Like, that's actually my hope for the team and for him. I said it before. I would not be upset if Christian Gray's not on the team next year. I thought you liked Christian Gray. Yeah, I do. Exactly. Because I think he's going to have a phenomenal season to be considered one of the best corners of college football, and he's going to be a high draft pick next year and go pro early. Like that. That's where I'm coming from with these. When these guys leave early, in most instances, it's a good thing. It means they're ready. Like, what else did Audric Estime have to prove when he came back in 2024? Nothing. You know, like the only guy that I thought, there was a couple guys that I thought should have come back. Like, I thought Kevin Austin should have come back for another year. I thought that Kyron Williams might have benefited from another year behind a better team, group. I mean, but it worked out really well for Kyron. There's been a couple times I thought guys left early, too early. There's been a couple other times I thought guys stay too long.
Yeah.
Like, if Manti Te'o leaves Notre Dame after 2011, I think he's a first-round draft pick. I think that's the case. Somebody mentioned Blake Fisher. It's another one.
Yeah.
I think Blake Fisher should have come back. So, but yeah, if Jadarian Price goes pro after this year, odds are good that he had another really good year. Let's say he rushes for 900 yards this year. That means in 2 years, he's rushed for 1,600 yards. He'll have about 2,000 total career rushing yards. He'll have 15, 16, 17, 18 touchdowns. And I don't know how much more his stock's going to improve the next year. Not a ton. And for a guy that already tore his Achilles as a freshman, do you want to take that chance? He'll have his Notre Dame degree. You just don't see a lot of running backs come back for their 5th year. You just don't.
The less tread on the tires, the better.
Yeah. So I hope he doesn't come back. And if my prediction is there's a chance they both get to 1,000 yards. And if that happens, they're definitely both going.
Yep. And it benefits both sides because it's not like Notre Dame's running back room is going to be hurting for bodies if he leaves. I mean, there's a world where Notre Dame's running back room in 26 is Aeneas Williams, Kedron Young, maybe Jabron Payne, Nolan James, Jonas Walton, and Javian Osborne.
That's pretty good.
That's okay.
And I think knowing Jadarian of what I know about him, I do think the health of the room will factor into things for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll look and say, if he felt like, let's say there was a couple bad injuries and guys transferred, I think he's kind of kid that I could see be like, you know what? I don't leave my team in a bad spot, but he's going to look back and be like, they're going to be just fine. Which I think helps him. So I'm going to sell that. And it's a hope sell. I don't know if I've ever done a hope sell because it means that Jadarian has a monster year and he gets to go to the NFL and he'll be ready. The one thing that'll help him be drafted higher is I do want to see him he still has to show me he's better in pass pro, and I'd like to see them use him in the pass game a little bit more. If he can catch 10, 12 passes this year, I think that'll show that he can catch the ball. He'll catch the ball well in workouts. He can catch the football. It's just he doesn't get used that way, and part of the reason he doesn't get used that way is because he's not very good in pass pro. So you can't put him in there on 3rd down where he might get more catches because he's not good enough in pass pro. He's got to improve. He's too strong, too athletic, and too good to not be better in pass pro.
Buy one, sell one, hold one. Running back duos here. Love and Price, Kyron Williams and Chris Tyree, or Josh Adams and Dexter Williams.
I'm going to buy the Love Price duo.
Yep.
I'm going to hold the Josh Adams, Dexter Williams duo, and I'm going to sell the Kyron Williams, Chris Tyree duo. And those are all great duos. Because that 2020 Chris Tyree duo, where Chris Tyree was a big play threat, that was a good duo. Much better than the 2021 version of that duo. Yeah, but it's still not as good as Josh and Dex in 2017, and it's still not as good as Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love last year.
Same order. Buy, sell, hold from T. Shoup 11. Mike Mickens is the Notre Dame secondary as Nick Saban was to Bama's defense.
Well, I sell that he's there now, but I buy that he could get there if he stays long enough. I mean, look, Nick Saban was putting out 1st-round draft picks every year on defense. And I mean, even just his work with, because Nick Saban for a long time at Bama was the corners coach. He genuinely was the corners coach. But he was putting guys in the 1st round every year. Mike Mickens isn't doing that yet. I think he will get there. And I think if Benjamin Morrison wasn't injured, I think he would have gotten there. But as far as making it a dominant group every year, he's doing that. But to do the Saban thing, I think requires him to start putting some guys into round 1 and more guys into round 1 and 2. So I'll sell that big picture. But as far as the product on the field, it's hard to go back against that. But Saban also did it for a decade plus. Not quite there yet.
AFMOS. Barry Odom will get Purdue to at least 3 wins this season and be competitive in at least half their games. And that will be seen as progress and a victory.
All right, so Purdue plays Ball State. That's a win. They play Southern Illinois. That's a win. Then they play USC at Notre Dame, home against Illinois, at Minnesota, at Northwestern, home against Rutgers, at Michigan, home against Ohio State, at Washington, home against Indiana. That third win is going to have to come most likely there at Northwestern, home against Rutgers.
Yeah.
He could look, guys, here's the deal. He could get them to 3 wins and they only have 2 other competitive games, and they're a way better team than they were last year.
Oh, yeah.
That's a tough schedule. That's a really tough schedule. So if he's correct, I'll say this. I'll buy that if he wins 3 games and if half of their games are competitive. So 3 wins and then 3 competitive games. Is that how you're reading it? Not half of their other 9 are competitive, but so 3 wins, 6 total tough game or competitive games. Is that possible? Maybe. That's a big jump from not being competitive in like all but 2 games.
Yeah.
But that would be a great accomplishment when you look at him completely rebuilding the roster. I mean, it's a brand new roster. And like the schedule. That's a tough ask. I do think they get the 3 wins, though. I think they'll upset somebody. Who that is, I don't know, but they'll upset somebody. So the 3 wins I can get with. The 3 other competitive games, that might be tougher with the schedule they play.
Yep.
But let's say they beat Rutgers at home. Could I see them being competitive against Minnesota, Northwestern, and one of USC, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan? Sure. It's possible. But heck, they took Illinois down to the wire last year. Like at Illinois and lost late. So but that was like the only other game they were competitive in like all year, I think. You know what I mean? Because like that was the weirdest game ever. And that was one of the few games Ryan Brown played in, and he was really good in that game. But like they lost by 59, 17, 18, 46, 1 to Illinois, 35, 6 to Northwestern at home, 45, 39, 7 at Michigan State, and then 66. So they only had, 4 competitive games all year?
Yep.
Like, that's bad. That's bad. But that would absolutely be seen as progress. If they did what he said, that's why I'm going to buy the notion that if they do that, it will definitely be seen as progress and a victory. 100%.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Al Aquino said this. He goes, Purdue might have been the worst coach team I've seen play in a while. Absolutely correct. Like, you 100% correct. They were incredibly poorly coached. Because it's like, how can this team that was one of the worst Power 5 teams I've ever seen, like that was one of the worst teams that and the Colorado team the year before Deion took over are 2 of the absolute worst teams I've ever seen in college football. But here's the difference between that Colorado team and this Purdue team last year. That Colorado team had no talent at all. Purdue did.
Yep. Sure did.
Purdue's got 3 guys that teams are like saying, I think this team's going to be really good because they got this Purdue transfer.
Yeah.
Oregon with Dylan Theineman, Max Clear at Purdue. Ohio State, Cole Brevard at Texas. Like, dude.
Yeah. Where did Will Helt go?
Guys.
Yeah.
Oh, Clemson. Yeah, that's 4. So you look at it and you're just like, dude, they had way more talent than the team that went 1-11 and just wasn't competitive. They were incredibly poorly coached. And Barry Odom's not a great coach, but he's a way better coach than what Ryan Walters. I just goes to show not everybody's meant to be a head coach. Ryan Walters did a nice job as the D coordinator at Illinois, but just not everybody's meant to be a head coach. Just isn't.
I'm looking right now, and I think on FanDuel, Purdue's over-under win total is set at 3.5. So,
I could see them beating Rutgers at home. I could see them beating Northwestern on the road. I could see them upsetting a Minnesota. That's about it. They're going to have to win 2 of those 3 games to go over, because the rest of their schedule is, you got Ohio State at home, just terrible because you're going to lose. You're at Washington, you're losing that game. Home against Indiana, we'll see. Home against Illinois, that's going to be tough. Home against USC, that's going to be tough. At Notre Dame, that's going to be a blowout. The Indiana game is one I'm very intrigued by because Kurt Cignetti flat out ran the score up on that team last year.
Sure did.
Like flat, he had his starting quarterback throwing touchdown passes in the 4th quarter. Like that was like Now, I get why he did it. I still don't like it. Bro, you could have beat them 49-0 and nobody's going to be like, I don't know if that's winning by enough. Like, you did not need to be throwing touchdowns down the field against Purdue in the fourth quarter up 50-something to nothing. Come on, bro. Come on.
If
But
Barry Odom is able to come in and establish a culture at Purdue,
yeah,
that's a win. Take win-loss out of it. If you can
Yeah.
just watch them on the field, take final score out of it, and you just see, the 22 guys on offense and defense competing every down, not giving up in quarters, like that's something to build on. Like in Colorado's season where they went 4-8 in the first year under Dion,
I'm talking about the year before.
Oh, no,
The year they went 1-11, yeah.
No, agreed. But I'm saying in the 4-8 season, you could see what he was trying to build. Like they weren't quitting. Like they weren't just straight up, borderline taking off their helmet and walking off the field. If Barry Odom is able to establish any sort of that at Purdue this year, take final score out of it, that's a win, man. It really is.
Yeah.
Because that program last year was rough.
To your point about Colorado, the team I was talking about, the 23 team or the 22 team, they lost by 25, 31, 42, 28, 23, beat Cal, 39, 8, 39, 38, 47, 42. Like they might have been worse than Purdue, but that next year they went 4-8. They got blown up by Oregon. They lost to USC by 7. They lost to Stanford by 3. They lost to UCLA by 12, Oregon State by 7, Arizona by 3, Washington State by 42, and then Utah by 6. Going on the road against Utah and losing by less than a touchdown a week after you got annihilated by Washington State is part of showing that the culture is getting better. The team isn't all that good, but to bounce back and battle that next week showed it. That's a great point. And then the next year they won 9 games. Now, unfortunately for Barry Odom, he doesn't have Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders to build his program around.
No.
But Ryan Brown's not a bad quarterback to build things around the next couple of years.
No.
He's really not.
And this just gives me an excuse to still throw out the craziest football stat I've ever heard in my entire life. Purdue could have started every game. Purdue could have started every game last year with a 34-0 head start, and they would have ended the season 6-6. That is still to this day. And I think 3 or 4 of those games, they still would have lost by double digits with a 34-0 head start.
Mm-hmm.
Man. BK's personal chef, Georgia Tech wins 9 or more games in the regular season.
I'm going to sell that, Trevor. I want to buy that. I really like this Georgia Tech team, but I still think their schedule's too tough. Like they've got a really challenging schedule. They can play at Colorado, home against Clemson, at Wake should be a win, home against Virginia Tech, at Duke, home against Syracuse, at NC State, at Boston College, home against Pitt, and home against Georgia. I haven't gone through and made my prediction for them yet, but like off the just looking at it, I think they lose at home to Clemson. I think they lose at home to Georgia. Yes, they've been more competitive against Georgia lately, but you got to show me you can actually beat them. And then you've got at BC, at NC State, at Duke, at Colorado. I could see them going 2-2 in those games and being 8-4. Are they capable of winning 9 or more regular season games? Absolutely. Absolutely. I like that Georgia Tech team. But I also need to see Haynes King prove to me he can stay healthy all year with the way he plays. That's another thing for me.
I'm going to buy this, and I'll wait to give my rationale until next Saturday.
Nice. Well, we'll actually do our ACC predictions next week on
Oh, that's right.
Monday.
That's right. Monday. Well, then everybody's just going to have to wait till Monday to hear my rationale. But all of your concerns were things that I've mulled over a lot. A lot. So I'm with you.
Oh, yeah. But then there's just so many things I like about that team.
I know, man.
There's a lot.
Yep. Buy, sell, hold. And then Louisville beat.
Real quick before we move on. But the other thing, too, is say what you want about whatever you think about Brett Key. But like to your point, we're talking about like with Dion's first team and that they battle last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like they battle. They compete. They get after it. They're not a team that just kind of.
They don't flinch.
Yeah, they don't. Like even Notre Dame beat them convincingly, but they battled for 60 minutes in that game. Notre Dame was just better than they were.
Yep.
But they never stopped competing.
They didn't flinch with Zach Pyron in the game. They didn't flinch with their backup quarterback in there. I mean, Buy, sell, hold. Louisville beats one of Miami, SMU, or Clemson.
Buy. Now, the interesting thing is they get two of those three teams on the road. They get Clemson at home. The Clemson game is interesting because they went to Clemson and smacked Clemson around last year. And that's why I don't love that matchup for them this year, because I think Clemson's going to have a little chip on their shoulder for that game. But I just think between the three of them, I think they win one. I like this Louisville team. If I had more faith in Alex English or Ron English, I would feel even better about having them ranked higher. He's my concern. The defense. They wasted a lot of talent last year on defense. But
yeah, my concerns. Oh, I'm buying that as well. My concerns with Louisville come down to Miller Moss and their defensive coordinator. I think Miller Moss could put up some good stats, but his turnover issue is ultimately what led him to getting benched at USC.
Mm-hmm.
And with a receiving core like that and a running back room like that, you can't afford to be giving the ball away as much as he did last year. So that's another thing I'm keeping my eye on.
And let's be honest, Lincoln Riley's offense is not prone to quarterbacks throwing a lot of picks until Miller Moss took him.
Yeah. Agreed.
And yes, Alex English was cold. I always say Alex English, who's a former basketball player back in the 80s and 90s. But I don't know why I always say it's Ron English. I don't know why I always say Alex English. As well as when I say Bryce Baker. Like, isn't that the other one I always get wrong? The D coordinator.
Chris, LSU? You always say Chris Kotelnicki instead of Andy. I always say
Chris Kotelnicki, and I also always say Bryce Baker, the DC at LSU. Isn't it Blake Baker? But I always get his first name wrong also.
I think, yeah. The Chris Kotelnicki, I don't blame you at all. That's just alliteration. Like, that just kind of rolls
sounds
off the tongue.
like that sounds good. Chris Kotelnicki. That sounds good. You should change your name, dude, so I don't have to keep looking like an idiot when I call you Chris.
Yeah, Andy, it's your fault, dude. Hey, man, come on, man.
I need you to go ahead and change your name, bro, because I keep saying it wrong. Just go ahead and throw out. If he responded back and was like, actually, my middle name is Christopher, I would freaking be weak. That'd be good.
Buy, sell, hold. A wide receiver not named. Malachi Fields, Jaden Greathouse, Jordan Faison, Will Pauling, or Micah Gilbert catches a touchdown pass in the first half of a game this year.
Fields, Greathouse, Faison, Pauling, Gilbert. I'll buy that. Just I could see something happening where KK Smith is on the field because somebody's out with a hammy, or Cam Williams, the light goes on, or Elijah Burris forces his way in the rotation. So I think there's enough potential of other players that I could see that. I'll buy that.
Buy for me as well. Buy, so hold from Akshat Shakur. When Jagasaw returns, Absher's great play means he takes over for Craig at center.
No, sell. No, I don't see that happening. I think Craig is the only way that happens is if Ashton Craig gets hurt.
Yep.
The thing about Ashton Craig is when he's on the field, he's been really good. He's just got to stay on the field. But when he's on the field, he's very good.
Agreed. Buy, sell, hold. The offensive line allows fewer than 20 sacks this year, including the playoffs.
I'm going to sell that. I mean, that's barely won a game. And I think that there's going to be some times where just a quarterback being young and holding on to the ball too long is going to result in a sack. They gave up 25 last year. So, like, it's like, dude, it's only a 6. Yeah, but they gave up 25 and should have given up like 35. But Riley Leonard bailed him out a lot. So I'm going to go – I think they're going to have less than last year, but I can't go fewer than 20. I could see them at 20, but I also have them playing 15, potentially playing 15, 16 games. So I'll sell that.
Buy, sell, hold. LSU goes 6-6 with losses to Clemson, Bama, A&M, South Carolina, Florida, and Ole Miss.
That is so at Clemson, at Ole Miss, at Bama. He doesn't have Oklahoma on here. See, this is what I was talking about the other day when we were talking about how tough LSU's schedule is this year. Like, whatever you feel about Brian Kelly and LSU, if Brian Kelly's complaining about how tough the schedule is here, I'm not going to hammer him for it. It's a really tough schedule.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you just listed 6 games: Clemson, Bama, A&M, South Carolina, Florida, Ole Miss as potential losses. You didn't even mention at Vanderbilt or at Oklahoma or home against Arkansas. Like, that is a tough schedule for LSU
It
this year.
is.
Like, really tough. I don't see them losing all 6 of those, however. I will say this. If they lose to Clemson and Florida, that becomes possible. Because I could see that team imploding a little bit if they drop 2 of their first 3. And then 2 weeks later, they got to play at Ole Miss. That could get ugly. Like, that could
What's
get ugly.
even I'm with you on that. I don't think they go 6-6. But what's even crazier, the battle that I'm going to be keeping my eye on throughout the SEC season is what happens with LSU and South Carolina, because their schedules are almost identical and they play each other. I mean, they both have a big out-of-conference game. It's both against Clemson. They each play Bama. They each play Ole Miss. They each play Vandy. They each play Oklahoma. Like, it's crazy.
Here's one difference. LSU's non-Clemson out of conference is Louisiana Tech, Southeastern Louisiana, and Western Kentucky. South Carolina's they play South Carolina State and Coastal Carolina, who's good. They also play Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
And then at Missouri, at LSU, at Ole Miss, at Texas A&M, home against Bama, home against Oklahoma, home against Vanderbilt. To your point, a lot of similarities between those 2 schedules.
Yep.
Like, here's the funny thing. If Brian Kelly goes 9-3 against that schedule, that's actually a good year.
Yep.
I don't know how happy LSU fans are going to be, because I don't think their roster's as good as people think. Now, they could be mad and say, why is the roster better in year 4? That's fair. But with what the roster is, I don't think 9-3, as long as they're competitive, is a bad year. It's not a great year, but it's not a bad year. Because here's the thing, Trev. Let's say LSU loses at Clemson. Let's say they lose at Ole Miss and at Alabama and go 9-3. Let's say they lose those 3 games. That means they will have beaten Florida. They will have beaten South Carolina. They will have beaten Vandy. They will have beaten Texas A&M. They will have beaten Arkansas, and they will have beaten Oklahoma. That's a tough schedule.
Yeah.
I don't know if LSU fans are going to view it the way that I view it, because fans usually don't. But I'll actually, as long as the losses are competitive. What hurt them last year, Trev, it's not just that they lost 4 games. It's not just that they lost 3 in a row. It's that they weren't really competitive in those 3 losses. Florida whooped them. A&M whooped them. Bama destroyed them. So my thing is, against that schedule, with what I think their roster actually is, 9-3 is a good year as long as they don't have bad losses. Meaning, like, don't go 9-3 and beat all the good teams and then get upset, like, at home by Western Kentucky or Arkansas or something like that. Like, you beat Bama on the road and then come back the next week and lose to Arkansas at home. Like, that negates the big win you had left. Like, avoid those. If they lose at Bama, lose at Clemson, lose at Ole Miss, and they're all 3 competitive games, I'm going to look at that year and say, dude, that's a good year for LSU when you look at the roster they have. And I think it keeps the recruiting class together as long as the boosters aren't crushing them for it. But that's a brutal schedule, man. I give LSU credit. Like, I shouldn't give. You scheduled Clemson on the road. I'll give you credit for that. But the SEC has a very lopsided scheduling. Like, I look at what Georgia's got the first 2 years of the expanded league, and I look at what LSU's got, South Carolina's got, and then I look at what Texas got, and I'm like, what? Really? Yeah.
Agreed. Buy, sell, hold from Rocket is Heisman. One of the incoming freshmen cracked the top 6 of the wide receiver rotation by October, by game 5.
Sell, barring injury. If there's an injury, then I could buy it. But if there's not an injury, I don't see that.
Follow-up from one of the buy, sell, holds from earlier today. Tyler Buckner is listed as QB3 for the majority, 75%, of the games played this season.
Sell. This goes back because the other one was Hebert will be listed basically as the third quarterback, but Buckner will, for all intents and purposes, be the third quarterback. And the reason that I buy that one? I bought that one and I'm selling this one because I don't think Buckner will be listed as the third string quarterback unless there's an injury to Blake Heber. I could be wrong on that, but this is what I think. But if there's injuries and a major injury, then I think that they're going to be coaching up Tyler Buckner to be the next man in should there be a second injury. If it's a long-term thing, if it's a situation where maybe you got to get out of a game, maybe they go to Blake Hebert for like a game, but I think they go to Tyler Buckner. I do. I know you want to get Blake Hebert going, but they really want to redshirt Blake Hebert, but there's one quarterback on the roster that's literally won football games, that literally has a win as a starter over a ranked football team. And that's Tyler Buckner, who beat South Carolina as a starting quarterback in a game where he had, again, 2 bad picks in that game. I know he had 3 picks, but one of those picks was 100% on the coach. And the coach told me that it was 100% on him. And so it's not me taking a shot at the coach. But the 2 others were bad. One was tipped that he shouldn't have thrown into coverage. Like, that was on him. And then the other one just hit a guy in the chest. But outside, I mean, those were bad. And that had South Carolina in the game, but he made so many great plays in that game. Just big-time throws, big-time runs. Why would you not turn to him if your first 2 guys go down? You know, like, I think they will. Partly because I think they want to preserve a year for Blake Hebert. So I absolutely think they would turn to Tyler when they get to a number 3 quarterback. Now, would they maybe play Blake in the fourth quarter of a game of a blowout to get him some work? Sure. But I think for all intents and purposes, Tyler Buckner will be the number 3, even though I think that they'll still list Blake Hebert there.
Yeah, we see that the exact same. So won't harp on it too much, but I agree. Buy, sell, hold. There is another freshman, includes redshirt freshman, All-American on defense this year.
Including redshirt. Yeah, I'll buy that. I can see Tay Johnson doing that. I could see Ahmad Faramo stepping in because there's an injury. If there's an injury, I could see or some other potential guys in that conversation. No, Logan Thomas wouldn't count. But yeah, I see that. If there's an injury at corner, I could see a Dallas Golden or a Carson Hobbs stepping in and playing that way. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'll buy that. I kind of hope there isn't a true freshman that makes it, because I think if a true freshman plays this year for Notre Dame, it's because of an injury. But if you're going to include redshirts, I could absolutely see Tay Johnson earning that, as you know, for sure.
Buy, sell, hold. Offense is better because of more run-pass balance, yet the points per game, 36.1 last year, does not increase by more than 2 points per game, but we still see increase in the yards per game. Last year was at 399.1 to, let's say, 440 yards per game.
I could buy this. I could absolutely buy this. I could see Notre Dame ending the season around 38 points a game, which is less than 2. But being at 44 yards per game. Part of the reason that their yards were low last year, Trev, is they had a lot of non-offensive touchdowns, which is going to give you points, but no yards. And they had a lot of shorter fields last year in some of those games because of, I mean, look, you scored a touchdown against Louisville on a 4-yard drive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed. I mean, we talked about it earlier in the offseason. I think a good number is around that 450 mark. Like 450 yards per game, you know, like 250 passing, 200 rushing, some combination of that. So 440 fits right in that wheelhouse. I'm going to buy that as well. Buy, sell, hold. Who would you want on 50-50 balls? Derek Mays, Mo Stovall, Chase Claypool.
Derek, I want to know your opinion on this, Trev, because I know who mine is, and it won't be the same as yours.
Yeah, this one's tough just because I was too young to watch Derek Mays and like appreciate what he was at that time. So I'm gonna buy Mo Stovall, hold Chase Claypool, sell Derek Mays only because my sample size of him, I just can't I don't recall a lot of that outside of like the highlights that I've seen from him. So
I'd take Derek Mays was brilliant as a 50-50 ball guy. I would buy Derek Mays. I would hold Mo Stovall. I would sell Chase Claypool. Derek Mays is only like 6'1". Actually, let me look at Derek Mays' size. He was not very big. He had some of the greatest hands, though, Trev, I've ever seen. Derek Brown, what's he listed as? What's his size? He's not very big. He's listed at 6'205", but he did not play like a dude that was 6 feet tall. He had tremendous ball skills. Like some of the catches he made were ridiculous. So I'd go with him. Mo second, Chase third. It's actually in that order for that Rocket put in there.
Joey Sal 01, due to injuries, Jordan Botelho will be remembered as one of the biggest what-ifs of the last 30 years for the Irish, even if he has a productive season this year.
I'll sell that because I think, look, yeah, it would have been nice to see a healthy Jordan Botelho, but we've still seen Jordan Botelho play a lot of football at Notre Dame and have some really good moments. I mean, even thinking back to, what was it, his freshman year in 2020 when he returned a blocked punt for a touchdown, or right? Wasn't he the one that returned that in 2020?
Against South Florida?
Yeah,
that was him.
Yeah. You know, he had the big game against South Carolina and the bowl game. He had the great game against Syracuse that year. We had some big plays. He was, good early last year. If he has a productive year this year, I think we'll look back and be like, he had a good career.
Yep.
Now, if he comes back, plays 3 games, looks like a monster, and then gets hurt again, then maybe we'll say the what ifs. But if what you're saying is even if he's productive this year, we're going to feel that way. I don't think if he's productive, we'll feel that way. I think if he flashes for a few games and gets hurt again, then we might talk about that.
Yeah, and I also just think that there's other players in contention for it. Jason Smith beat me to it, but Tarian Folson's in that conversation. I think Jarrett Grace could be in that conversation for the what if.
Oh, yeah, he's another good one.
Yeah.
What if Brian Van Gorder didn't ruin Cole Luke? What could he have been? What if Aaron Lynch would have stayed at Notre Dame? What would him and Stephon Tuitt been in 2012?
What if Everett Golson didn't get suspended for 2013?
Well, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah. What if Jimmy Clausen comes back for a senior year? There's
with
a lot.
Golden Tate.
What if Ron Paulus doesn't break his collarbone as a freshman in 1993? Like maybe Notre Dame's not as good. Maybe they're better.
Yeah.
Who knows? But he would have been different. So there's a lot of those. That's a good one. The Jarrett Grace one is one that still gets me because he's such a nice guy. He really is one of the nicest guys I've been around. He's a doctor now. I think he's done with medical school. I think so. He's at least close to it. But you talk to Notre Dame players that played with him before and they're like, dude, he was a dude. He was a dude. Him and Jalen would have been side by side if he didn't get hurt. But Golson in 2013 is a real good one. Really,
I think about that all the time.
What if Malik doesn't get hurt against Virginia?
Yep.
What is 2015? I've said this a million times, Trev. I don't know that they lose to Clemson if Malik doesn't get hurt against Virginia. If Malik's the quarterback against Clemson, I think they win that game.
Yeah.
I do.
Yep.
Man.
Buy, sell, hold. Another one from Joey Sal. Either Tate Johnson or Jadon Blair will lead the Irish in interceptions this upcoming season.
I'll buy that. Whichever one of those two emerges as the guy opposite of Don Schuler, I could buy that. Because I think they'll pick on that guy more. I think they'll pick on that guy more, and it'll result. And the way that I think he's going to use this defense, I'm going to see the safeties just like last year, catching a couple overthrown balls, some tip passes. But yeah, I think. Look, I'll just say if you read my intel piece about the secondary, then you'll know why I'm a lot more confident buying this than maybe I would have been before camp started, like a week before camp started.
Yeah. Yep. That would also fall in line with my bold prediction when we did our preview of the safety room with Tate Johnson.
Yeah.
Notre Dame will have 4 running backs with at least 5 rushing touchdowns this year.
So I think they'll have 3. I don't think they'll have 4.
Yeah, thinking of the 4th would be a stretch.
Yeah,
I'm with you. What about
rushing touchdowns?
I was just about to ask, what if it was 5 total? Would that change?
Maybe, because I could see Aeneas maybe doing that. But what did Aeneas have last year? Like 2?
He had he had 2 rushing touchdowns, no receiving touchdowns last year.
Yeah, I mean, and he played a decent amount last year. So, and the guy he replaced, Devin Ford, didn't have any touchdowns. So no, I don't. I go 3, but not 4. Not 4.
Buy, sell, hold. Chris Ash goes from being viewed as one of the most questionable offseason hires to one of the best offseason hires.
I'll hope by that one. I think the defense is going to be good this year, even if Chris Ash is Notre Dame's version of Larry Coker, which is like you can't screw it up in year 1. But the longer you're in the system with him, the worse it gets. Even if I knew the future and that's what it was going to be, 2025 is still likely going to look pretty good. So, yeah, I could see that. I'll buy that.
I'm with you.
And I'm not saying that's going to be the case. I'm saying worst case scenario, he is your Larry Coker and that happens. I still think this year's team is going to have a strong enough foundation established that it's not going to have an impact, which will then impact his reputation. But I'll say again, I like what I've seen so far. And I was someone I did have question marks about that hire. I'll own that. So far, so good. Now let's see how he puts a game plan together and how he calls a game, how he adjusts in game, things like that. But so far, so good. I like what I'm seeing from his group. I am. I don't think this is the last one, but let me just go look here real quick. No, we're definitely not. So I'm not done yet. Hang on a second, Trev.
Oh no, it's doing the thing.
It is. It's so annoying. I don't know why it does that sometimes. It just randomly do it too. It's very, very, very annoying. All right, now we're back up at it. So,
bang. Buy, sell, hold. By the time Freeman retires, he'll be remembered as the second greatest coach in Notre Dame history behind Newt Rockne.
Sell. It's still going to be Frank Leahy. And I think you can make a case that Frank Leahy might even be better than Newt Rockne when you look at titles. He won 4, Newt won 2 or 3, right? I mean, Frank Leahy had a recruiting class that literally never lost a football game in 4 years.
Yeah.
Like Newt Rockne was an originator. Newt was phenomenal. Newt's a legend, but Newt's career also got ended right in his prime. I mean, like that's the thing is like they had won back-to-back titles when Newt went down in that plane crash. They'd gone 19-0 the 2 previous years, won a title in 1929, won a title in 1930. If Newt coaches another 5 years, it's a no-brainer. But he didn't coach those years. And then when Leahy came in and restored him to what he did, I mean, he was tremendous. And so I think Rockne's slightly ahead of Leahy in win percentage because of what he did I think he's slightly ahead, but hold on, let me look here. Newt Rockne in his tenure at Notre Dame went 105, 12, and 5. Frank Leahy at Notre Dame went 87, 11, and 9. His overall career record was 107, 13, and 9. But Frank Leahy coached for 2 years at Boston College, and in his second year at Boston College, they went 11-0 and finished 5th in the country. Then he got the Notre Dame job. Won a title in 43, missed 2 years because of the war, came back in 46, 47, 48, and 49, won titles in 3 of those 4 years. They went 8-0 and 1, 9-0, 9-0 and 1, and 10-0. That's going to be hard for Marcus Freeman to top that. It just is. And he had, Newt had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 undefeated teams. Leahy had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 undefeated teams, and it's a 7th at Boston College. That's going to be tough to compare. And again, it's very different eras, but at the end of the day, Notre Dame reveres its legends, and I think Marcus Freeman's going to have to get at least 3 national titles to be considered on the same level as a Frank Leahy or Newt Rockne. Here's the crazy stat: 5 straight years of Frank Leahy coaching. They went 9-1, 8-0-1, 9-0, 9-0-1, 10-0 and won 4 titles in those 5 seasons. Now, that wasn't 5 years because, again, he missed 43. Was it 43 and 44? He missed 44 and 45 because of World War II. But they won a title in 43 and then won the title again when he came back in 46, won it again in 47, finished number 2 in 1948 because they went 9-0-1 and tied USC at the end of the year, and then won it again in 1949. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
Buy, sell, hold, Mike Mickens.
Who won? Michigan won it in 1948. That's the team who won it in 1948. So they went 9-0.
Well, good deal. Buy, sell, hold, Mike Mickens gets 7+ job offers, with at least 2 being defensive coordinator offers from other programs after the season, but stays at Notre Dame as the defensive coordinator in waiting.
I'm going to hope by this one, and I'm going to hope by it for 2 reasons. Because partially because it's good for Mike Mickens, because if he gets those job offers, including 2 DC offers, and stays as the DC in waiting, number 1, he's going to be the next D coordinator. Number 2, they're going to have to pay him a lot of money to keep him here. You know what I mean? So, like, that'd be great all around. But, yeah, I'll hope by that one. It's possible. So I don't know about the 7+ job offers because you don't normally get that many offers. Like, you'd have to be shopping yourself to get that many offers. You usually only get, like, a real offer if you interview with somebody. And I don't know if that'll necessarily be the case.
Yeah. Yep. Buy, sell, hold, Preston Zinner works his way into the defensive end rotation in some capacity, specifically with pass rush packages.
I buy that as a possibility. I buy that as a legit possibility. I could see Preston Zinner earning some pass rush opportunities this year. Yeah.
Buy that as well. Florida Irish. If Tay Johnson and or Jadon Blair lock down the open safety position and produce similar to Kyle Hamilton's freshman year stats, the Irish will have a top 5 defense this year.
I buy that. Look, that's one of the few question marks we have about the defense. I would say the 2 biggest question marks about Notre Dame that aren't health related are D tackle. How good will D tackle be? And safety, opposite of Don Schuler. Is that fair? Agree with that?
Agreed.
So if those guys do that, then one of those big question marks is getting answered in very impressive fashion, because Kyle Hamilton was a freshman All-American, I believe. So, yeah, I'll buy that.
Buy that as well.
Definitely buy that.
That'd be fun to watch.
Yes, it would.
Domer since birth. At Notre Dame practices, DBs have been winning reps over wide receivers. DBs have been winning reps against quarterbacks. Coach Ash has been winning reps over Coach Denbrock.
Yeah, they've been winning reps, but the same is true for the other side of the ball.
Yeah.
The receivers have been winning reps. The quarterbacks have been winning reps, and Coach Denbrock's been winning reps. Like, neither side of the ball. I'm taking this in him meaning they've been dominating the receivers, and that's not the case from what I saw. So I'll sell that. I'll sell it how I think you mean it, which is that they've been dominating the receivers in the offense. I'll sell that. They did the first day. They definitely didn't in the one-on-ones that we saw the other day. But I will buy that, yes, they definitely win their fair share of reps. And so, but the offense has also won some.
Mm-hmm. Domer since birth, Notre Dame's quarterback will look drastically better when competing against the scout team in game prep compared to the ones now in camp. So Notre Dame's defense will be the best defense these quarterbacks will see all season.
I mean, that's a buy, but that's true for literally every quarterback in college football.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have the worst defense in college football, imagine how bad your scout team is.
Yeah.
It's literally true for every. Where I think he's coming from on this is they will perform a lot. They will benefit from playing a great defense. That I buy.
Yes.
I buy the spirit of what he's trying to get across in this buy sell hold. I sell the specific of, yes, they'll look a lot better against the scout team, because that's always true. I mean,
yeah.
But I think I know where he's going with this one, and I buy where he's trying to go with this one, which is the quarterbacks are going to benefit greatly from going against this secondary and this defense in fall camp. Yeah.
Agreed. Buy, sell, hold. Impact on a game for your team. Pick six, kickoff return for a touchdown, punt return for a touchdown.
I'm going to buy pick six. I'm going to hold punt return for a touchdown, and I'm going to sell kick return for a touchdown. And here's why I do it in that order, because I think all are huge momentum swings in college football. I'm going pick six because that's more of a sudden, like, oh no, and now your offense has got to get back out there with that on their mind. Like the team that threw the pick, that's a huge momentum change that gets in the head of a quarterback big time. So it can have potential ramifications for the future. So that's why I'm buying it. And a pick six doesn't mean it. Well, I'll explain in a second. Punt return for a touchdown for the same reason. Huge momentum swing, but it's not quite as in the head of your punt of your offense because they're not the ones that did it. But still big momentum swing. The reason I'm selling kick return, even though all three are huge, is because kick return usually means you're answering their points with points of your own, which means you're either +4 or equal in that exchange. So, for example, the C.J. Sanders kick return at the beginning of Stanford game was huge, but it answered Stanford's opening touchdown drive and made it 7-7. You got some momentum back after Stanford went right down your throat and you got diced up by Kevin Hogan. And I still remember the touchdown. I think it was like Caden Smith against Sean Crawford and just threw a little fade route for a touchdown. I think that's what happened. But it's like you're like, oh boy, this is going to be a long day. But then Notre Dame comes right back with that kick return. And so actually I'm going to look that up just to make sure I'm correct on that. 2015 box score. But that was a huge momentum swing, but it tied the game because they had just – no, it was Remount Wright. The touchdown pass came later in the game. But maybe – no, actually it wasn't 2015. That was 2017 because Sean Crawford was hurt in 2015. I'm thinking of 2017. But the point is, Trev, that you have to answer a score to get a kick return unless it's to start a half. Then it could mean more. But I would need further context for it to mean as much, where I always know a pick six is huge, and I always know a punt return is huge, where you're getting it without giving up points. It's not always true for a kick return.
That's a good point. I guess that's definitely fair. I guess I didn't think of it in that context. I was thinking more because we're both buying pick six, but I was thinking more along the lines of stealing back the momentum after points, which is why I was going to hold a kickoff return for a touchdown. But no, I get what you're saying. I'll still buy pick six. I'll hold kickoff return for a touchdown, sell punt return for a touchdown, but also just because I see fewer punt returns for touchdowns than kick returns. I mean, I guess just looking at it from Notre Dame sample size, I've seen
when
more
I
kick
think
returns
punt
for
return, I'm also thinking like blocked punt for a touchdown. Like I think to me that kind of counts as that too. But
fair, yeah, it's fair. But regardless, we're both buying pick sixes because those are buy, sell, hold from Zick Stick. I have more confidence in the defensive line than the offensive line.
That's not an easy one, Trevor. Do you have an answer already for that one? Like, is that an easy one or easier one for you?
It is.
I'm a little torn. Go ahead. Give your answer. I want to hear what you have to say.
I'm going to sell this because as of right now, I have more confidence in the offensive line. I know the Charles Jagasaw injury stung, but you kind of look at what's after that. Anthony Knapp comes back at left tackle after starting 15 games. Billy Schrouth comes back. He has now 15 career starts, started the entire postseason, and was probably their best offensive lineman in the postseason. Ashton Craig is back from injury. Now, I am nervous about him staying healthy, but when he's on the field, like we talked about earlier, that cat's a good football player. Mm-hmm. Right guard, not ideal to lose a high-ceiling guy like Charles Jagasaw, but again, like I've said before on this show, you're losing a guy with 2 career starts, neither of them at right guard. We've seen him play right guard for a half. Now, that's one more half of meaningful football than what Sullivan Absher has played at right guard, but there's worst case scenario than to have a 6'8", 325-pound backup right guard step in his place. Then you got Emil Wagner coming back. I think they have a strong foundation in their run blocking ability. Pass blocking has to be elevated, and from what I've seen so far in camp, I feel confident that it's going to be elevated this year. I think you have to use a little bit more projection with the defensive line than the offensive line, and that is what separates it for me. The defensive line is going to be really good this year if Bryce Young takes that next step, and if Logan Thomas takes that next step, and if Gabriel Rubio plays the entire season, and if Jason Onye plays the entire season. So I think there's a little, and I'm listing off things that I think that they are all more than capable of and are showing signs of and have showed signs of so far through the offseason. But I think with the impact players, it's a little bit like Boubacar coming back healthy a year removed from his knee injury, not 2 years removed from a knee injury. So the thing that separates it for me, I think you have to use a little bit more projection with the D-line. So I'm going to sell this one.
It's interesting. I'm actually going to buy this one because I've seen the D-line that we're going to see now for the most part play last year, and I know what they can do. I think the offensive line has a chance to be better than the defensive line, but I do still need to see it. I need to see Ashton Craig healthy. I need to see Anthony Knapp take that step in the game. I need to see Emil Wagner, where it's like I watched Gabriel Rubio and Josh Burnham and Junior Chilamaka and Donovan Heinisch have to be counted on in the Orange Bowl and win, in the Sugar Bowl and win, and play better than I thought the offensive line played in those two games. Now, neither line played well in the championship game, but I think the offensive line did not play as well as the defensive line did in those two games. So that's where I'm. And if my answer would be different if Jagasol was healthy. I'll be honest, because then the talent would just be too good. But right now, I still have a little bit more faith in the defensive line than the offensive line. Having said that, that just means I have to pick one of the two. I'm confident in both lines going into the season. But if I had to pick one right now, I'd say I know more about the defensive line than I do the offensive line. And you're adding Boubacar, you're adding Jason Onye, you're adding, certain players to this mix that you didn't have last year. So I think that factors into also why I feel better about it right now.
That's fair.
But I'm confident in both of those units as of right now. That's not the offensive line's got to show me. It's just comparing two lines that I think are going to be pretty good. I just feel like I know more about this one on its best day than I do about this one on its best day. Because the offensive line we saw at the end of the year for Notre Dame had two different players in it than what we're going to see in this offensive line. Meaning guys are gone, whereas actually three. The offensive line that played against Ohio State, only two of those guys are going to play against Miami. It's Billy Schrauth and Emil Wagner.
Yeah.
So it's just D-line, I just feel like you're losing RJ Oben and adding Boubacar Traore. That's basically, what you're getting. You're losing a banged up Howard Cross and replacing him with Jason Onye. I just feel a little bit better about that. But your argument was sound, Trev. You maybe have to think about like, okay, do I really still want to go with this? Okay, yeah, I will.
It's fair. Buy sell hold from DCL TJ. Off of this one, 19 of the last 21 years, a preseason top 10 team finishes the season unranked. Buy, sell, hold. LSU.
So we'll do each one?
Individually. So buy, sell, hold LSU.
I'm gonna sell, but I could see it.
I'm gonna sell too, and it goes back to the difficulty of their schedule. They don't have to be 10-2 to still be ranked. If
they're 8-4, they're probably still ranked in the top 25.
Yeah.
With their
Miami.
Schedule.
Yep, agreed. Miami.
I'm going to buy that.
I am as well. Oregon.
Sell.
Agreed. And Georgia.
Very much a sell. Like, I don't think Georgia's as good as they've been in the past, which means I think they're like 9th, 10th, or 11th at worst. Like, they're still really good. And when I say they're not as good as they've been, it's comparing them to the 21 and 22 national title teams. I don't think they have that roster, but they're still very good. They're still a team that I think is going to be competing for a playoff spot. And the only reason it's not a no-brainer they're in the playoff is because their schedule is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I'm with you completely.
Yeah, there's no one is going to be able to doubt Georgia or LSU being playoff worthy if they win playoff spots. Because it's just they have brutal schedules.
Sean Patrick 50, the 2025 Notre Dame season has started off with a 2-0 record with both games, the offense being extremely balanced. It is halftime. Notre Dame is losing, and the running game can get nothing going. Assuming the run game is the same in the second half, buy one, sell one, hold one. Of these three teams, you feel most confident of a comeback win. NC State, Boise State, and USC.
I buy NC State because I think that I could see their coach kind of choking away a game. I'm going to hold Boise State because I think the talent could just overwhelm Boise State. And I'm going to sell USC because I think if you fall behind USC, that could be a problem. That could be a problem.
I'm with you. I'm going to buy Boise State because I think of those three teams athletically, that is the one opponent amongst these three that I think Notre Dame could just end up out-talenting. Yep. Like the run game's not getting going. It's you just get the ball to Malachi Fields, get the ball to Eli Raridan, get the ball to Jaden Greathouse or Faison or Pauling, and it just kind of takes care of itself. Falling behind, I'm with you. I'm the order I'll go is I'll buy Boise State, hold NC State, sell USC because of how they are on offense.
Mm-hmm.
But then you could also make the argument that last year USC had a lead on every opponent they lost to in the fourth quarter except for Notre Dame and blew those leads. So it's like, where do you fall? But I think they're going to be improved this year.
I just think this USC, yeah, exactly. I just think USC is going to be better this year, especially in year 2 of D'Anton Lynn's tenure.
Mm-hmm.
And Notre Dame never fell behind USC last year. They never trailed.
Nope.
I know your point was about other games where they had a lead in the fourth quarter of every game. Right. I just think they're going to be better this year.
Agreed. Sean Patrick, 50, buy, sell, hold. Same scenario as above, but substitute the running game for the passing game. So essentially the passing game can't get going. But
mine doesn't change. It's still the same order. It doesn't change. Yeah.
I think I would even more
buy Boise or buy NC State, hold Boise, sell USC. Trev, you and I feel the same way about the Boise matchup. It's just I don't trust Dave Dorn in a clutch situation.
That's fair.
Boise State showed me that their head coach showed me in his 1 year he can make some good decisions and get his team ready to finish well. I mean, the way they battled Oregon last year, the way they battled and won late against UNLV last year, that showed me something.
That's fair.
I get that. But like it's similar to the Penn State game where what happened at the end of that game, it was a close game for a while, and then Penn State just said, our guys are better than your guys, and just pulled away.
If it's this scenario that you're talking about, I think I even more emphatically sell the USC game. If Notre Dame can't pass and they're behind against USC, I don't know if they come back just running the ball. Like that's,
Use clock. Yeah. How far are you behind?
Exactly. But my order also still stays the same.
Yep.
Robert Garzanelli, buy, sell, hold. The Notre Dame versus Clemson game will become a top 3 rivalry in all of college football.
Top 3? So let's assume for a second that the Notre Dame USC rivalry goes away. Because if that doesn't go away, it won't even be the top rivalry for Notre Dame.
Agreed.
I would say it's still not as good. It still won't be Michigan, Ohio State. And I still don't know that it surpasses Oklahoma, Texas. And I still don't know that it surpasses the Iron Bowl. Just because it won't have the tradition of those games.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could see where I could buy this, Robert. And by the way, Robert, it's good to see you in the buy so hold. We haven't seen you leave a buy so hold in a while. You and Tweezer Washingbeard are good to see you guys back. But could it be one of the top 3 rivalries if we're just looking at consistently top ranked teams? That I could buy.
Yes.
But that would make it a top 3 matchup all the time. But I don't know that even in year 10, I'm going to be able to say this rivalry is better than Florida State, Auburn, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Oklahoma, Texas. You know what I mean? Like it'll be great matchups, things we look forward to, but I don't know if it's like that.
Agreed.
That's my take on that.
I'm with you completely. And I think one of the things that will kind of like take away from, I agree completely with the matchup. I think the games could have more implications than those rivalries have had over the
100%.
years.
Right. Right.
But one of the things that, from like a media perception standpoint and from like other college football fan standpoint, is
And just calling it a rivalry.
like we used it as a joke before, but it's like it doesn't have like a name of a rivalry game. It's not the game. It's not the Iron Bowl. It's not the Red River rivalry. It's Notre Dame Clemson. So maybe it will organically generate some sort of a name, but who knows? But I'm with you as well. I'm going to sell it. First,
I think it'll be great
question.
games, though. I'll say that. I think they're going to be great games. That's what I think the spirit of where I think Robert's coming from this is, as I actually am sympathetic to and could buy, but it's just when you use the word rivalry, that just means something for me, and I don't think it can become that.
Yep.
That's all.
First food FISA hold of the day.
Love it.
FISA hold, steak and eggs, lasagna, barbecue, brisket, pulled pork, ribs, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm buying lasagna. I'm going to hold barbecue. I'm going to sell steak and eggs. I'm just not a huge steak and eggs fan. I love eggs. I love steak. I don't love eggs on steak. I don't love eggs with steak. My wife does. I'm not as big of a fan. I should try it, making it at home, maybe.
It's good.
But I love my lasagna. Love my lasagna. So, yeah.
Well, maybe
I
I'll
make
have
mine
to try
also hamburger instead of Italian sausage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I make my spaghetti sauce with beef, not sausage.
Well, maybe I'll have to try your lasagna at some point because I'm going to just rip the Band-Aid off now and say I'm selling lasagna. I like lasagna, but I just, again, all of the lasagna.
It can be hit or miss, Trev. It can be hit or miss.
I've had it at some places and I'm just like, yeah, this is just okay. I'm gonna buy barbecue. I'm gonna hold steak and eggs and sell lasagna.
We're not that far off. I'll make lasagna for one of these days. I'll make lasagna for you and we'll try it. But mine's different than what you'll see at like a restaurant. It's more cheesier and has beef, not Italian sausage. This is the last two.
Take us home, Ball Peen Shillelagh. Only half of the preseason top 10 teams will finish in the top 10.
All right, so let's go back to the top 10 teams. So let's go to the coaches poll because that's the only one we can work on right now. So let's decide who we see as finishing the top 10, Trev. Sound good? And then we'll know what our answer is at the end. So Texas. See him to finish the top 10?
I do.
Ohio State.
Yes.
Penn State.
Yes. And I'm going based off of like my predictions for the end of the year.
Yep. Georgia.
Yes.
Okay, I don't. Notre Dame. Yes.
Yes.
Clemson. Yes.
Yes.
Oregon.
No. Yes. I'm sorry. Yes, I do.
Okay. I mean, we're already at half, but I want to finish. Alabama, I say yes.
Yes.
And then LSU and Miami, I say no. At the end of the year.
Both of those. Yep. No.
So you're at 7, I'm at 6. So we're both buying this.
Yep.
Right. There's some teams I could point to that wouldn't finish in the top 10 that could make this go lower, but right now I just don't see that happening. Yeah.
I'm with you. The buy, sell, hold concept from an Ohio State fan coworker team should get into the 12-team playoff based on polling, but should be seeded with a BCS-style algorithm-based system.
No. I fully reject that because now the same stupid metrics that went into the BCS are going to give seeding advantages to teams that don't deserve seeding advantages. You're going to give the number 2 seed to a Nebraska team that gave up 70 points to Colorado in a Big 12 title game, or not even, Big 12 title game, or was it the year Nebraska or Oklahoma got in where they got smacked by Kansas State and didn't even make the Big 12 title game and still were the number 2 ranked team in the country. So sell. Use those things as data points for the human committee to then decide where teams should be ranked. It's part of the data, but one computer ranking should not should not determine rankings. If you want to take like 5-6 different computer models and then average them to give the committee some data, okay, I can work with that as part of their criteria. But it still should be and always should be a human decision.
Agreed.
Just like you'll never hear me say that they should make officiating be done by computers, umpiring be done by computers, or whatever. Like, this is a sport played by people. It should be decided by people. It should be officiated by people, not computers. So always going to sell that. If you want to have it as a data point, like when I evaluate teams, I look at the Fermeau efficiency index. I do. I like Brian Fermeau. I like the stuff he does. Don't always think that it's like, well, I buy that conclusion, but I respect it. I'm like, I know. And I also know Brian's always tweaking his formula when he feels he's getting maybe some things that he doesn't like. Have that be part of the conversation. It should never be the decider of things. That's why I sell it.
I'm with you completely.
I dig it. We did have one super chat that I want to get to before we get out of here.
Super chat from Josh. Thank you for the super chat, Josh. Appreciate you. New to the program. Love the content. Well, welcome.
Yes, very much so.
To the Irish Breakdown community.
Yeah. Thanks, Josh.
How many running backs will get work in game this season?
I think we're going to see 4 on a regular. I think we're going to see the 2 base down backs. I think we're going to have a third down back, and I think we'll have a red zone goal line back. So I go 4. I think we're going to see 4. Not 4 that are splitting all the first team reps, but I think we'll Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price will be the top 2 backs. I think Aeneas is going to be the third down back, and I think Keidron Young is going to be the goal line short yardage back.
Yep.
That's what I see.
Yep. I think so too. With some tweaks. Like I think it'll be those 4, but I think sometimes you could see some on the field together. You could see some Jay Love on the field into some third down spots.
You could see Jay Love in the goal line short yardage. There, yes, correct.
But some combo of those 4, I'm with you completely.
I agree. It's a great way to end it. Thanks for that, Josh. Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Welcome to the IB community, Josh. Well, listen, Josh, since you are new to the community, along with everybody else here, be sure to hit the like button on the way out. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you know whenever we go live. Brian and I will be back tomorrow to go over more of Notre Dame's offseason content plan. Listen, we are now 25 days away from Notre Dame kicking off the season, and we are now, I want to say 17 days away from college football, guys. 2 weeks from this Saturday, there will be college football on our TVs on August 23rd. This offseason has gone by a lot quicker than what I thought it would have when I started this job. But look, football is right around the corner. Best way to stay in the loop with everything we got going on here, join the message boards at boards.irishbreakdown.com. I believe IB Nation Sports Beat is going live tonight for their midweek mailbag at 5 p.m. So be sure to hop over on the channel and check those guys out. So until next time, that's Brian. I'm Trevor. We'll see you back here very soon on the Irish Breakdown podcast.